Welcome back to the Hot or Not Comic Rundown podcast, exclusive to Think Critical Patreon, with everyone's favorite ray of sunshine, Weird Comics Jim, the man with a dirty song empire, and dabbles in comics on the side.
Yeah, the dirty songs doing well. The dirty Christmas songs went through the roof yesterday. I was living large, but the comic stuff, that's still there. It's one of those. It's like the dirty songs are the Batman, and the rest are, whatever happens next, but you make your money on the Batmans if you're DC or Spider-Man at Marvel. So that's what that is. But here we are.
And this is a special episode. Obviously, it'll be going up on the Patreon first, but it's also going to go up on the YouTubes on Friday. You can see what Jim and I are all about. It's talking about the new comic books.
I better watch my P's and Q's. I didn't know that this was going to be big time like this. I would have actually, I don't know what else I would have done. Maybe I would have dressed up a tuxedo. Maybe I would have, I don't know, maybe taken some more Adderall. I would be on it. Here we go. I could take it now. It'll kick in, like you'll see after our first break, after Marvel, you'll see things will pep up. Yes, here we are.
So I had a fantastic Christmas. I can tell you this, my wife's father-in-law, his birthday is the day after Christmas. So I've been putting in the work, looking for gains on the dad bod department with the Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and day after Christmas festivities and eating. I put in the work, Jim.
Yeah.
I'm eating too much food.
Yeah. I ate like the poor man's sad guy's Christmas.
Golden Corral?
No, well, that would be maybe because then I'd be around people. I actually made a microwave pot pie and beef pot pie, and later on I had.
You didn't even get the good when you got the beef instead of the chicken.
I've had so many chicken pot pies that I thought I'd get the beef. It was a Marie Callender one, so I was a little fancy.
Oh, you went high on the
little
hog.
fancy.
That's big time.
Problem is we don't have an oven. So I had to microwave it, and then I put it in the air fryer for a little, and I was so impressed with the results, but had nobody to tell. So I just sat and looked at this pot pie. Yeah, I watched some football. I did ask.
So I thought the Marie Callender had like the tinfoil thing in the top of the box.
Well, it has it on the side kind of thing, but the very top, I wanted it to be a little more toasted, a little more, cooked. Yeah, so I put it in the air fryer for just a little bit. Actually, for those wanting to know, I set it for 400 and put it in while it preheated up to 400, then took it out. That was my timer. It was all, willy-nilly. I ended up having it pretty good, but just sat there then and just realized that my life has come to just darkness. I did watch football.
You got to watch the Chiefs. That was a great game.
Yeah. If you're a Chiefs fan, but yeah, it was pretty good. I'm telling you, I don't like the Steelers either, so I didn't mind. Both games yesterday were pretty lame, though. I ended up seeing a bunch of people yelling. Carmelo Anthony was upset there was football on Saturday. I don't know why.
Oh, because it's supposed to be well, it's not Saturday, it's Wednesday, but it's supposed to be the NBA's day.
On the deal on the NBA day. Yeah, that's probably why he got upset. But yeah, Christmas Day, little football. I didn't mind. I liked it. So
this is the thing. Being in the Philippines, I'm sure there's a package to where there's a channel here that replays a game or two of NFL football. Mm-hmm. But I like the NFL a lot, and I'm a huge Chiefs fan, and we've been suffering for so long. So my wife does allow me to have one thing I get to splurge on. Every year I get to have the NFL Game Pass thing.
Yeah.
Which used to be its own app, but now it's under DAZN, that DAZN, whatever it's called. Yep. And it's the worst mobile app in the history of the world. The stream is always cutting out, and it's throwing you back to the beginning of the recording and stuff like that. It absolutely blows, but I suffer through it, watch my football. I watch the Chiefs game, and then if it's not the Chiefs game, I just put it on Red Zone and have a good time. Watching football on Netflix with no streaming issues whatsoever was a godsend. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, it was cool. A little jokey with the announcing, but I get it. And JJ Watt was. I like JJ Watt. a lot. I just, he could have toned it down a bit. I think that he thought he was there just for a full comedy effect. And a guy, has some insights I'd rather have than jokey. But yeah, we have the NFL package, and I'm an Eagles fan, so I don't need it. We end up, I get the local games. We got it because my son Rafe is a Cleveland Browns fan, which they stink this year. He's barely watched the Browns. And somehow every year he tells me he's going to pay half of the package, which is still a half too little because I don't need it. But it always ends up where he pays like a half of the first payment. And then the next thing I know, I'm paying for it all, which drives me
It's
insane.
A substantial package. It's not a cheap thing, and that's why I do have to ask my wife's permission. Yeah,
it's not cheap.
But she's very generous with letting me do it.
And if he did some more things around the house, I might not be upset. I'm an old man. I'm sitting there. I have 2 kids that still live at the house. I'm taking out the trash every week. I'm wondering why I'm taking out the trash.
Jim's sitting around. One of his hips is worn out. He probably needs surgery.
Titanium hip.
Blown out shoulders.
I'm into
blew a hammy taking a dump this morning
to get the trash on the upper levels here on the second. I got to take my stair chair up, all that stuff. I did end up watching Wolverine or Deadpool Wolverine. I hadn't watched that up till then. I did watch that, so I was just sitting around. I wasn't doing much.
Was it good?
It was okay. I know a lot of people loved it. I did like it at first at the beginning, but I have to admit that after a bit, the, breaking the fourth one, it started to get a little bit too much. I still enjoyed it, but it was just, I had enough. I don't think I'll watch it again. And that shows me that, I liked it, had a couple of laughs, but it was just a little over the top.
I haven't got to watch it yet. But because the kids are just too small, I can't put stuff like that on when they're around. Like me.
I tried to get my youngest son, who's 18, I tried to get him to watch it with me, but he wasn't really interested. I wanted to get Chinese food and watch that, and he just didn't want to.
Oh, dude, I would have killed for some orange chicken or some General Tso's.
No, I was all excited. I thought we were going to do it, and then he decided
some crab rangoons.
But we also ended up at the vet on Christmas Eve because his dog started crapping up blood. And he was all worried. I looked it up, and it said to pretty much call your vet, see what's going on. There's a bunch of different symptoms. I'm like, it doesn't seem like it's that big a problem. And he's like, no, he get all mad. You're just cheap. My dog's going to die. So we went to the vet, and there was nothing really wrong.
Did you tell him I'm taking this out of your weed supplement?
Well, weed supplement. This is my youngest son, who's not. He's more of a weightlifting guy. So when we did this, though, he ended up where he almost even went for X-ray. They kept telling him nothing's wrong. You just have to wait and see. And he's like, no, I got to. At one point, it was going to be $1,000. I'm like, don't do that. It still ended up being 300, and he only had like 100. So I'm like, I guess that's your Christmas gift for the next 5 years because I'm cheap. But yeah, we had to pay some extra. I'm like, you didn't even have to go. It was ridiculous, but he was worried. He was really worried.
Can't blame him.
Yeah, it was pretty. I mean,
pooping up blood. You got to feel bad.
It was like out of nowhere. It had diarrhea for 4 days or so, and then poop. I said, you have to at least wait one more time.
Can you describe the diarrhea in detail, Jim?
Well, the blood looked like a crime scene. It looked like a crime scene out there, and then he even said he had his little bag to pick it. He's like, I don't even know what to do with this, but. Yeah. Plus, it was on snow. It made it worse. Told him to take a picture of it, and he's like, "No, I don't want to do that." I said, "They're going to ask about it." He's like, "No." And then finally, he took a picture. Then the vet says, "Well, describe it." And he goes, "Oh, I have a picture." And she goes, "Oh, that's really smart." And he said, "Thank you." And I looked at him. I'm like, I'm gonna slice you.
It would have been so much better if the vet was like, "What's wrong with you?
What the hell are you doing?
You're something a pervert just taking." Pictures of bloody dog craps?
The vet nurse,
like, who raised you?
Yeah, really. This guy was the first guy. He's like it was weird. Every time I had been to a vet, it's just the vet. Now you almost have it like a real doctor deal where, you have the nurse is taking the deal, and it's this guy. And immediately was afraid of Milo, the dog, it's not mean. He's just very nice. He went to lick him, and the guy was spazzing out. I thought, you should get a different job. Then he tried to give him a rectal thermometer. He didn't want that. That was the deal. But who does?
Bridge too far.
Yeah, he didn't like that. Though it was weird because usually
my arm's right here, buddy.
Yeah. Milo starts to, I don't know. He does some wacky things. He gets all horned up. So we were worried that he might mount this guy, but the guy got scared and ran. It was weird. I'm like, you're a vet. It's like, and you're afraid of a dog that's just being nice to you. It's very odd. But that was Christmas Eve. So that
very
was
nice.
Fun times. Right.
Very adventurous stuff. I didn't have anything quite that amazing, so I won't go into too much detail. But we will talk about a few Christmas stories in the Dad Corner, which happens obviously after we talk about all these amazing comic books this week from Marvel, DC, and indie comic book publishers.
Yeah.
Are you ready to hit up some Marvel?
I'm ready.
Or we could do this, Jim. There was a book from DC that made me laugh out loud. I don't think it was supposed to be funny, but I thought it was hilarious.
Okay.
The one with the arm thing.
Oh, you mean with Wonder Woman? That deal? Yeah. The absolute Wonder Woman with her metal arm?
Did you like that as much as I did?
It was weird. The whole absolute Wonder Woman, I'm on the fence with. I liked the first issue, didn't like the second.
Oh, I'm off the fence. I think I know that it just sucks.
Yeah, this one was a little odd. It was a little odd. I don't know. It's
the arm, though, Jim. It's the
like
arm
that metal arm that she like shoves into her stump.
No, it gets way better than that.
Yeah, it does.
So it starts out and there's like the tetracide or whatever the thing this is. It's got like the 4 ways of killing you that are going to be the worst thing ever. And Steve is talking to her, whatever. She's trying to talk to the military and get people out of there and evacuated because the tetracide or whatever it's called is the most dangerous thing ever. And then it flashes back to when they are in hell, and Steve is with them, and she wants to send him back because apparently he's like the sweetest dude that's ever lived.
Yeah.
And she comes up with this magic spell, and Cersei's like, "That's too much," and she's like, I'm willing to do it." And the next thing you know, she's got like a human arm. I was like, "Who did she take that arm off of?"
I thought it was Steve's. And then that it's hers.
So did I, but then I realized she yanked her own arm off.
Yeah,
and then put it like in a magic potion bowl
next to the fire. It is now that you say like the idea where Cersei kept saying like no you see this says it demands a sacrifice. She's like, I understand. Like, what have you done? What was necessary? Was it supposed to be heartfelt? Was it supposed to be badass? It was very odd. It was very
so weird.
What did they do?
And then
with
it
that
flashes
arm?
Back to her fighting the tetracide. It's got like all these tentacles on it, and it like rips her magic arm off that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and then like, she's flying around with the stump.
The arm isn't real. It's just like a projection or whatever. And then she goes and finds Steve because she gets away, and Steve's like, "Oh my God, you sacrificed your arm to get me out of hell." I was like, "How did you come to that conclusion?"
Yeah, it almost feels like he kind of. I think I remembered now. Your arm. And she's like, whatevers. I like everybody's a guest. Like there is this huge tetracide Cthulhu monster and everybody's aghast at the stump of an arm. They're like, I thought you were hot. And then she's just walking around like, what's happening? Guys, it looks like, it's like Rick in The Walking Dead walking around. It's his stumpy. I don't know.
As she's talking to him to discuss the I don't know, strategy or whatever. She just like sticks her good arm in a pocket, I didn't know what pulls out a metal arm and like attaches it. But looks like it's off one of those like shitty droids from like the fucking the Jawa thing. Like it doesn't look like it should
work. It's like in the Sandcrawler.
Rusted out.
They're there. Next thing you know, even worse, it's like Ugnuts are throwing it around to each other. Chewbacca's trying to grab. And then the best is that she uses that robot arm to point to where they have to run to, and everybody's like, "Oh God,
like, stop pointing!"
Like, oh God, look at you. You robot lady. And so then the best though is the loving care that she grabs Barbara Minerva with that metal arm a little later. I want that thing to like have its mind of its own. We didn't realize it was from a robotic serial killer. Now we have like body pieces going on.
Why would she be able to make a robot arm or forge a robot arm in hell?
I don't know why.
She's supposed to be able to use magic. There's nothing magic about the robot arm. She's not an engineer.
And that's the thing, I guess. I mean, and she pulls out that thing. I'm like, how many backups do you have? I mean, you had a magical arm. You would have probably thought that was, pretty much forever.
Dude.
And then you have this metal robot arm, but,
I hope she gets the metal robot arm from here until eternity, and that's just her arm.
It doesn't even look like a very functioning arm. It has like a weird, it's weird. Yeah.
She should be stabbing people on accident.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it just starts bashing into people.
If I had a mom and I had a stump and then she could put a magic arm on me, that arm would be like so bulked up and like muscled up. You wouldn't that's like one beefy arm you got there. Like, I know.
It would be humongous. It would be
it's
like
the only one I work
on there. Like, But if it's a guy, you'd be like, okay, I see what you're up to. But she's there, and I'm like, it's weird. It's Kelly Thompson trying to give you this, like, okay, this was a mighty sacrifice. This was a deal. Like, sometimes these sacrifices will be like, okay, 10 years off your life, or you can never do this. You can't do that. She just severed off her own. She ripped her own arm off and just laid it there.
I wish they would have biting it or whatever.
Oh, that would be great. Now they have a dog. The dog runs off with it. With that too, I wish they're like,
she illustrates it in a comic book. You're like, and then I'm gonna eat my own arm off.
Oh yes, so I'm gonna eat it here. I'm gonna make a comic. You end up where I'd like it if, say, Zeus or whoever is getting the set. They're like, we have no use for this arm. Like, what the fuck are we gonna do with this arm? It's an arm. We don't need.
It's not
that.
even a person attached to that arm.
I mean, that's all Steve's worth is. He's not even worth an arm and a leg. He's worth an arm, and he gets to go back. And even then, Cersei's like, you're ridiculous. Why are you even thinking this? Well, this is my first part of my mission. She even says, no.
You got a crush on the guy. You don't give up your arm, weirdo.
Yeah, it is an odd play. The idea of just giving your arm for a guy who you just met that isn't allowed off.
She's not allowed to fall in love with him.
No.
Because she's got to be a strong, independent female character. So she just acknowledges that he's kind of a good guy. It's like, yeah, take it off.
Yeah, and says, I want to send him back because he's the greatest of humanity, a great man. One good man is all it takes to save the world. Like, how would you know that he's a good man?
Because he went and got the wood off the porch.
Well, there you go. My kids won't do that. But if I'm in hell and I'm wondering what the hell's going on, I might act a little different, be like, hey, I'll do some things, I guess, like try to get the hell off. It'd be great if he just doesn't care, and because he could be a jerk, and it would be funny. But this ends up being the same kind of deal, but now Kelly Thompson. And that's the other thing about it is you wonder what's different in these books, in the Absolute books, anything that's not full out canon or continuity at the moment. You wonder, okay, what's the difference? The difference is she cut off her fucking arm to send him back, and okay, that's not anything that's going to sell. That's the big moment of the book, right? That you would say if somebody's like, oh, what's up with this Absolute Wonder Woman? She cut off her own arm to send Steve Trevor back to man's world, and people would be like, what are you talking about? Maybe it'll get people I don't see many people talking though.
At that point, I thought the book was ridiculous, not in a good way. I was laughing at it, not with it, but I was having a good time. And then she takes her blade, ties her lasso to it, throws it into the tetracide, flies around it over and over again. And apparently it's a never-ending lasso. And I thought she was going to go for it. She was going to pull it like a fucking lawnmower cord. And he was going to spin in circles until he went to the center of the earth. I was going to laugh about it, but she didn't do that. She just goes and makes a speech on the news broadcast.
Yeah.
I was like, the magic is lost. She should have pulled him and made him go like a cyclone.
I thought she was going to pull him. He looked like a blooming onion or something. But nope. What it is I'm going to make all of you deaf so that it can't, because she says it'll end up making you just run blindly towards it. It'll eat you. It's the worst death. Your soul's gone. So she says, I'm going to make everybody deaf, and just know that I mean well, and away we go. And it just felt weird. It felt weird by the end. Even that one news guy who looks a lot like Steve Trevor ends up like, all right, and then, oh crap. Shit just goes. It's a weird issue.
And the art is getting worse on it. I didn't particularly like it in the first issue. I still didn't like it in the second issue, and I'm starting to just absolutely dislike it at this point. The detail isn't there. They need to get an inker on this book. There's no line weight or depth to anything.
There isn't.
And it just kind of looks like crap.
Well, my play is, and it has been since the beginning, I think that the structures and, if you have vehicles, they look a little better. But when you have faces, first off, they change every time. They look so plain. Like you said, nothing has depth, nothing has, and this is a lot of faces. This is a lot of severed arms and faces. So it didn't look great. It didn't look great. And I want to like it. I want to, I think that the second issue of Superman, Absolute Superman, was a little better. So I'm hoping that continues. I think this one is actually going down since the beginning, even though some people didn't like it from the get-go, obviously. But I liked the first issue enough. I just wanted it to expand a bit. And the expansion is like cutting arms off and just yelling at a big kaiju. It's pretty much the same. Even at one point, they say that the military says to Diana, can't you just do that same thing you did with the Harbinger? And she's like, it's not that easy. And then goes and does the same thing. It just ends up, please. It's basically like, please look, you took my arm, you exposed my stump. Please, can you just leave? Just please. And it doesn't look like he's going to, or it's going to. So I don't know.
And Barbara Minerva's not going to be Cheetah. She's going to be like the Wonder Woman Stan.
Nah,
that's probably going to make her turn.
She may end up. She may end. Yeah, she'll.
I think she's going to be obsessed with her.
Yep, she will be, and she'll have some artifact that she'll pray to, and she'll sacrifice maybe a toe, and she'll become Cheetah. So I'm sure that will happen because I don't know, Kelly Thompson. This just doesn't seem like it has much of a direction besides weird moments, and we'll have to see as it goes.
Based on what the pitch of this was, I would have had Wonder Woman finding artifacts and fighting monsters for 3 or 4 issues to establish it as fun before I got into this woeful bullshit.
No, I would have had her definitely hear about the Amazons from Cersei the way that they did and have her say, well, I'm going to go and find out myself about this. Cersei says, no, you can't. They don't want you to do that. And have her with the, Pegasus, the skeleton Pegasus, go and see different, like you said, artifacts, them run into Minerva, maybe on a dig. You could even have that. I don't think you need to fight. It ends up wanting to be the end of the world, but yet it doesn't do anything. So you end up just kind of shrugging oh, here's another one of these things, the Tetracide, and it's just standing there. Even at one point, she's yelling.
It literally doesn't do anything.
No, last issue, she's yelling, oh my God, we have 2 seconds. Then she says here, well, I did slow it down a bit with some magic, so I have time to talk to you, but you still have to run. And you don't really get much tension with it. It's a shame. Yeah.
The Wonder Woman stumpy arm issue was the highlight of the week. I'm going to get that one or not. I think Absolute Wonder Woman is probably going in the wrong direction. Like I said, we normally cover Marvel first, but I just thought that thing was such
a... Yeah, you like that so much.
A fucking train wreck that you just got to get it, You can't... I would have been frothing at the mouth just waiting to talk about that shitty comic book.
Yeah, and with people, if you're watching the first time, the first issue I gave a hot actually, and I think me and you thought about it, and then the second one I gave a mid, but it was definitely trending down, and then this one is not, and it kind of kills me because I want to like all these absolute books, and it's just they're making it tough. And I said from the thing, and even me and you had a video on after a couple issues of each, the idea that you need that elevator pitch to grab people in, and a severed arm isn't doing it, and saying that blood diamonds in the whole Superman isn't doing it. Batman at least has over the top dump truck, and the last issue was pretty good too, being a little more serious. So sucks.
So let's head over to Marvel. We'll hit the big publisher first, then we'll swing back around to DC because they did have a few notable books. Yeah, it's certainly a better week than Marvel. Marvel had Hellhunters #1 come out this week, Kidpool, Spider-Boy #1, Sabertooth, The Dead Don't Talk #1, Star Wars Battle of Jakku, Last Stand #1, Time Slide #1, and new issues of ASM, Blade, Exceptional X-Men, Iron Man, Moon Knight, Spider-Boy, Ultimate Black Panther, Ultraman, X-Avengers, West Coast Avengers, and X-Men. So they actually put out a decent amount of books for being Christmas week. Mm-hmm. In fact, there was so much stuff going on, I didn't get to everything you would have expected, but I did get to Hellhunters #1.
Yep.
Philip Kennedy Johnson. I can't remember the name of the artist right now. Maybe you can look that up real quick. This is the origin story for Ghost Rider 44, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, from his whole run.
It starts out with we got some Nazi soldiers fleeing from the Russians after the failed invasion of Russia, obviously during World War II. They come across some weird dead horse thingy that kind of turns them into demons.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was actually pretty cool the way that this Romero kid ends up becoming Ghost Rider 44 or whatever. He ends up getting shot down. These guys are messing up one of their landings, I believe, in France. It's supposed to be happening. And he gets kind of stranded. And then like a fucking crow is like, do you want vengeance? He's like, yeah, I want vengeance. And it gives him the power of the Ghost Rider. And then he ends up meeting up with Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos, kind of setting it all up. And he gets his motorcycle, which we're used to seeing him on. Yeah. And then it hints that we're going to see Wolverine in the next issue. But I thought this thing was actually really, really strong, even though it does have a lot of the Philip Kennedy Johnson lore building weird name things. It does.
It's Adam Gorham on art. And I thought the art
he does a really good job.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. And I read it, one of the first books I read because of Philip Kennedy Johnson. When I read it, I liked it. And at the end, I thought, yeah, not much really happens. I know that we're establishing the character, but it did feel like you didn't do much, but what we got, I really liked. So it was one of those weird plays. I thought it was a really quick read. But again, you kind of just establish, okay, there he is. He kind of could guess what's going on. But in it, the art was really good. And it's a cool take on World War II. You have the whole supernatural, which was really cool. And the art, though, I thought sold it really well. And then at the end, you kind of like, man, this guy's going to get his revenge. And you go. And then I think, all this. And later on, he's just going to end up protecting one kid on like a reservation. But that's fine.
Retired to the res.
He's just retired on the res and then watching one kid. But in this, I thought it was cool. And when you end up getting Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos, I thought, okay, that's really cool. It reminds me a little bit of what was it that Stephanie Phillips, the werewolf Capwolf deal, which I think this is already better. This is more of a serious, like somewhat serious take, but it kind of goes along those kind of, lines, but I did like it. I'm going to continue reading it. I just hope that next issue picks up a bit more with exactly what the story is. I mean, I'm guessing they're going to fight Nazis. That's kind of what I think. And I really, that's all you really need, but we'll see how it works out.
Jim, do you think Ghost Rider 44 being a U.S. soldier during World War II fighting literal Nazis is woke?
No, I do not. I
heard that feedback from some people. I was
really?
Like, there really were Nazis in World War II. And
this is what happened in that. I believe it was the Batman, like the first Night book or whatever that was happening in like the mid 30s, I believe, or like near the deal. And the big talk in that book was, oh my God, the Nazis are rising in Europe and we might have, and people are like I need to hear. I'm like, that's just it. That happened. Like you're not doing anything crazy. It's setting the scene in the time frame. There's nothing woke about an American soldier fighting Nazis in World War II. I mean, it's just what it is. And whether or not he's Ghost Rider, it doesn't matter. Like, this isn't like suddenly woke would be, he all of a sudden becomes Ghost Rider and he's like, you know what? Everybody has their own cross to bear. So I'm just going to go somewhere else. And you guys, that fight's yours. No, that would be ridiculous. This is.
I'm not here to fight Nazis. I'm here to fight social injustice,
the real Nazis,
the indigenous people of France.
Exactly.
Like, oh God, what is he doing there?
Is the fear within
Nazis,
ourselves. Yeah, there again. There are certain people, and we know very certain people who will look for that. I hate the term, but the woke in anything, and it just isn't there all the time. And whether or not it is or whatnot, it's their concern. They're running scared from it, I guess. If they think that a American soldier, it just makes me laugh that they think that. It's ridiculous.
But it's a good book. And it's pretty cool. Like the art, like when he's coming down, he ends up getting taken out by one of these demons, and his chute kind of like starts swirling around. He gets it like hung up.
Yeah,
he's pretty messed up. And there's lots of really cool in Europe, like World War II memorials and stuff like that. And specifically, I believe there was one in, I think it was in the UK, but it might have been in France that I saw, where a guy, he got like stuck with his parachute. He was like hanging.
Really?
And they've got like a thing of like a guy, like he's not
just really hanging there
anymore. Yeah, just
like
to
a statue hanging.
That the family, that the entire town saved him.
Oh, that's nice. They were probably woke.
And then, well, they probably were woke. But I thought there was some pretty good imagery in here. It was good.
There was a cool thing where he's hanging there and the crow's like, hey, listen, you want vengeance? And it's like, yeah. And then he's like, do it. And the bird's like, but you didn't, there's a deal here. He's like, I don't care. And I was waiting for his arm to be taken off, but it wasn't. So you end up where he's just
take
like,
the arm.
Again, the best thing is like, yeah, I mean, he wants revenge. That's going to outweigh anything in the afterlife for him. He just wants it. So there he goes. And then again, I think that with that kid and things like that later would be that's like him trying to do good as well. I don't know. It just kind of ends up when that Ghost Rider 44, whatever they call it, when it showed up in the Hulk book, I kind of rolled my eyes. I thought, and that, again, at a point where we have way too many Ghost Riders. It was illustrated by Nick Klein,
and I wasn't rolling my eyes at shit.
It looked great, but the concept of having yet another, it just kind of seemed weird. But this actually, I'm full. I actually was afraid, we're going to see, but no, it's fine. It's really good. It's one of my favorite books this week, even though it doesn't feel like it means a lot in the end, but it's cool. And it's Philip Kennedy Johnson. It's written well, and it looks great. Be great if it was Nick Klein doing the art, would be great. But this is very, very cool art anyway.
Yeah, definitely giving Hellhunters a hot. Enjoyed that one a lot.
I am too.
Didn't know what to expect, but I was definitely impressed with that issue. Now, I know that you love Spider-Boy, so I decided to try out Kidpool and Spider-Boy #1.
See, but you didn't read Spider-Boy itself.
We haven't got to there yet. Christopher Yost?
Yes, Christopher Yost.
I think it's 3 different pencilers. I was like, Jim's going to like this book. I've got to read it. I've got to get myself through it. And I couldn't do it. I think I made it 14 pages before I said, as annoying as Deadpool is in the hands of a wrong writer, Kidpool is about 1 billion times more annoying.
I kind of like Kidpool a little, but the thing is, this is way too long. By the end, I couldn't take it as well as you. I liked it at first. It just doesn't have much going on.
It's kind of like that Deadpool and Wolverine movie you were talking about.
That's what it kind of reminded me of. By the end, the jokes just kept coming too fast and furious here, and I just ended up like, okay, I get it. Let's go. You even have, like, you may not have even gotten fully into the Stegron story that is like a love story with the girl at the beginning who loves dinosaurs. It went on too long.
I saw the interlude with the introduction of that. I never made it to the part where it was found again.
Yeah.
But Kidpool, who's a girl, really wants to make out with Spider-Boy. I definitely got that part.
Yeah.
But then when Spider-Man, who she's trying to kill because she was hired by Owsley, maybe?
Yep, Owsley.
Once he finds out it's Kidpool that wants to make out with him, he's like, you have to move because there's nothing in the world more annoying than a Deadpool. Yeah. I was like, well, I appreciate you being self-aware of how annoying this comic book is.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to eject. I pop smoke. Too. I look for rescue.
And you end up introducing this other character, this Jillian Jensen. And the problem is that you're doing that at a time where it looks like you're introducing Kidpool, telling you who she was, but it isn't. And then by the end, it just goes on way too long. There's some jokes I thought that were kind of funny, but overall,
but there's like 98 jokes in the first 12 pages.
Yeah, and in that the big story,
and maybe 2 of them were funny.
And there's stuff later, like there is that sense of like kid kind of jokes. At one point, Kidpool like yells, "Oh my God, that webbing, it comes from what?" And then later she reveals she thought it comes from his butt. So it's like one of those like little kid ideas. But
but it's like little kid baby jokes, but you can't read it with kids because of the amount of cursing.
Oh, no. Yeah. At one point, I mean, and they really spell out, it's like a 10-year-old, 8 to 10-year-old girl. And she's like, I'm going to beep this and you're beeping this to beep this. And I'm like, yeah, that's odd. We reviewed it and I said it's weird because it wants to be an all ages book, but it doesn't want to be. But then it wants to be the kind of all ages book that you read down in the basement and oh, my parents wouldn't like this, but they're going to be buying it for there. It's a weird book. It's too long. It should have just been a little backup in the actual Spider-Boy book. Maybe 10 pages would have been fine. But the Spider-Boy book was a little better. I didn't.
We got to get to the number ones first. Did Spider-Boy end up kissing Kidpool by the end?
No, at the end Deadpool ends up telling because Bailey's upset.
I didn't make it to the part where Deadpool showed up.
Yeah, Bailey's like, and even then, like Deadpool plays the game of like he's just decimated a bunch of AIM people, and Bailey's like, they're not dead, are they? He's like, no. Like, that's the big jokes throughout the whole issue is Bailey, Spider-Boy, kind of like, oh man, we don't kill her, we don't do this, and I didn't kill. At one point, they even were Kidpool tries to kill somebody, and then Deadpool or Spider-Boy says, oh man, how did you know you weren't going to kill him? She's like, they're not dead. Like, that's the joke throughout. But she just gets distracted, and then at the end she's like, ooh, kiss you, hold hands with you, I don't even like you, and then leaves. That's the joke again.
Oh,
that's what it is.
Feels like I missed a lot.
Again, you did, but you didn't. It's just
no, I was being facetious. I didn't miss shit.
Son of a bitch. So by the end, it's more a Kidpool book really than a Spider-Boy book. Spider-Boy's there to have the center so that you can tell the jokes with Kidpool, but it wasn't great. It really wasn't. I was hoping for better. I had a couple less, but by like page 20, it really was too much.
How many pages is it?
It's like 43. Oh. Yeah, it's long, and it's way too long, but yeah, there you go.
I'm giving it a not.
I'm going to give it a mid.
The portion that I read, I did not enjoy it.
It's not great, though. Yeah. What's next?
I read Sabertooth, The Dead Don't Talk #1, which has Frank Thierry returning. He's done a lot of stuff with Sabertooth. Michael Santamaria. The only time I had seen him as an artist was on that like Spider-Man Curse the Green Goblin or whatever that thing was. Remember that from Jim DeMatteis?
Jim DeMatteis, yep.
So I was kind of excited about the art because I like the art there. It's still pretty good in here, but his take on Wolverine, like coming back from a funeral, is kind of weird. It looks like he's been in drug rehab for like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
Like he's pretty out of it. But it's a really weird book.
It is weird. It's very weird.
It's like it's not really in continuity. It's not historical, like look back at Sabertooth on something that really happened. It appears to be some type of almost like Gotham by Gaslight
like
type
a
of
yarn
book, but with Sabertooth being in like the age of like
gangs of
New York.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's weird. It's weird. And then when you go back,
what the fuck is this?
It's one of those, I always say about these sort of things, what it reminds me of is your favorite sitcom, like whether it's Brady Bunch, whatever. That's what I always think of. But when they have a dream and they go back in time and everybody's somebody else, like, oh my God, like my dad was this and my brother was this guy. And that's what it feels like. It feels like a weird sitcom episode where everybody's back in the days of the gangs of New York and you play this game. And I don't get it, but it was okay. The art was okay. The art got a little worse as it went. Yeah, it was.
If I was going to do an Elseworlds take on gangs of New York, I certainly wouldn't have started with Sabertooth. I would have started with Wolverine.
Yeah, and even then, it's like just it's a weird play. It's a weird play overall of like, let me tell you a story about the guy there at the bar, and it's just very odd. And you go back to Ravencroft, and it was a 1909, a bad time, and odd. I don't even know what else to really say about it. I mean, Sinister's there, full out Sinister. That felt
doctor
weird.
That's like treating people, and then
he got Fritz
Wilson Fisk. But he was Fiskov, something.
Fiskov, and he's like, I made it Fisk because people couldn't understand that, and I could get you back in my gang. And
he like springs him and kills off Igor from Frankenstein.
Yeah, old Fritz.
And then he starts bare knuckle boxing by the end.
Yeah, after the guy fights a bear. And this guy's like, nobody can defeat me. Just Sabertooth rips his head off. I'm like, all right, here we go. Yeah, it was very odd. Very odd. It wasn't bad. I'm with you. By the end, I still was confused of where this really laid what was happening. But I've read worse. But Mad Dog Murphy, you get a lot of things going. The 5 points. It's like, all right, there we go.
It's defending the White Rabbits.
Yeah, he's doing it all. So I don't know. It just took me the whole issue to kind of realize that I really don't know what's going on, and you just have to go with it. it must be, obviously it seems it's Elseworlds, it's whatever, unless there's some.
But it's not obviously Elseworlds. Like, it doesn't say something that tells you that it is.
Well, but
that's why it's weird.
Again, I think that Thierry would get away with it by the guy at the bar saying, "Hey, give me another whiskey and I'll tell you a story." And he's just spinning a yarn. And at the end, he'll probably laugh and say, "Well, did that really happen? I don't know. It might have something." And then he'll turn and laugh like Michael Jackson at the end of Thriller, something like that. But it was weird. But I didn't expect it to be anything. And I read it and I thought it was okay. I didn't mind.
No, it's fine. I mean, I'm not going to read the second issue because it's complete.
I might check it out just to see if it says anything more. But yeah, it's nothing that I'm like, oh my God, I got to see what happens. Yeah, it's a mid. It's a mid on the high range of mid. It's it's okay. And if you just want, say, like something that feels like an out of time annual type deal, maybe you'll enjoy it.
And I do think the artist, Michael Santamaria, has a future at Marvel Comics, and I think he can do well. Probably just needs some more work, really refine his craft. But there's some definite potential with the pencils.
I really think that when this happened, like by the end, it seems like he might have gotten a little rushed by the end. I think that the art is really strong at the beginning. Like when they're in the bar and all the details and stuff was really, really good. And then by the end, it kind of seemed like, okay, we got to get this done. So hopefully, that he has some time or whatnot, because it did look good.
Did you read Star Wars Battle of Jakku Last Stand?
No, I did not.
I'm never going to read another book from Alex Segura again. That dude can't write.
Yeah, I was looking forward to this next phase. It's not fully started, but the next phase of Star Wars books. And I read the first couple issues of this, and I just didn't want anything to do with it anymore. So I stopped reading it. Somehow I'm on like his mailing list. I might have joined up. I didn't pay join, but I was on like his what's that thing called anymore?
Substack?
Substack. Yeah. So I was getting all these. I'm like, when did I sign up for this? Maybe he just decided to send me updates.
I think Sus Gabe was like, I'm going to sign Jim up for this. Fuck that guy.
Me and my buddies used to sign each other up for some wacky things, but maybe. And so I kept seeing like, oh, my Star Wars book's coming. I'm like, I don't know why I got this, but I'll check it out. And then I checked it out, and I'm like, I got to get along to, getting off.
How do I get off this?
I want to get off it. I don't want to be told when it is, because I don't need to know when it is. But yeah, I tried. I gave it a shot, and it just wasn't that great.
I read the first couple issues of that first miniseries, and it just wasn't very good.
Nope. Wasn't good at all.
We also had Time Slide #1. This is like the $8 preview book for Marvel from Steve Fox and Ivan Fiorelli. Did you read this one?
I went through it.
You did more than me. How was
it? It wasn't great.
We got Sully in the comments saying, like in the private chat, saying that he liked it a lot.
Yeah, I started reading it. I don't like Steve Fox, and I'm not a huge X-Men guy. So when I started going through and a bunch of things, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. And I kind of bailed very quickly. But I figured that you would read it, so I didn't read through it. I was told that it was the biggest book of the week, is what I was told by a bunch of people like Sully. But I didn't care.
Sus Gabe?
I think Sus Gabe was going to review it. Yeah, Sus Gabe.
He did review it, but did he tell you it was the biggest book of the week?
No, I know when he sent his list of things, it was #1 on the list. So he's there.
It was the biggest book of the week.
Yeah.
It was a priority. It was over Hellhunters, which was actually fun.
Yeah. Did he not do Hellhunters? I'm hoping. What did he give? What did Gabe give this? Did he give it any decent review? Did you pick his sus take?
No. We're not, he gave it a 5.8.
Yeah. I'm looking now. The reviews aren't great at all. Yeah, and even the user reviews, well, there's only one, but that's even lower. So I'm glad that I didn't completely read it. Gabe gave it a 5.8. He's not even the lowest. And the guy who gave it a 4, he usually likes everything. So that's
no, Kevin's not like that.
Isn't he? I thought he was. Yeah, I thought he was. I was looking up.
He's never one to give scores that low, but he's very okay with giving a book a 6 to 7 score.
Yeah. Yeah, look at you. Like anytime you talk about me, you're yelling and screaming, throwing shade. Then this Kevin guy comes out of the woodwork. Next thing you know, you're praising him.
I'm not praising. I'm just saying
I want the praise. Is what I'm saying.
He's not David Brooks from Adventures in Four Tastes.
Oh, you mean David 8.5 Brooks? You're saying?
Or the Geek Dad that gives everything a 9.5 or a 10.
Yeah. Oh, I was going through some things. I thought he was one of the ones. For some reason, I'm having problems clicking on any of the actual reviews here. My thing is freezing up. Something's happening with the comic book roundup. I don't know what it is, but I'll check them out. His
average score is a 7.4.
Okay. How many reviews?
1,700.
Okay, that's not that many. He's still
that's not that many.
He's still a spring chicken. I haven't reviewed a book in 2 years, and I have over 3,000. So take that, Kevin. You think you're so fancy? This Kevin guy. Next thing, he's like the gem of your eye here.
No, it's just as far as people that
I'll tell you who
you see on Comic Book Roundup. He's one of the more reliable ones.
There's somebody who has a very similar name in my mind that I thought it was. I still can't click on it. My luckily we're still going. My whole thing is frozen.
Frozen?
Yeah. It's this Kevin guy. He did it. Now I am. I'm actually. My whole browser's frozen. I cannot look at. Something happened. Man, I'm on another browser now. Yeah, I wanted to see who it was that I thought it was, because the guy who I thought he was has like 2,000 some reviews, and his average is 9.7. No, it's something his own thing. It's like Pop Geek something. I don't know. I'll tell you in a minute. But there you go. I would normally apologize to old Kev, but I'm mad at him now, and me and him are now in a feud. He has no idea. But we're feuding at the moment, me and Kevin.
So you're recommending Time Slide for everybody?
No, I guess it would
Steve
be
Fox
one of those
is just awful.
Steve Fox is terrible. And I did end up where we were picking the books to review for our Marvel podcast this week. And the guy I do it with, I said, should we do that? It seems like the big book, at least from Marvel. And he even looked up, and this guy's a nice guy and very positive about things. And the first thing he's like, Steve Fox, hell with that. And I'm like,
he was positive he didn't want to read another Steve Fox book.
Burning bridges everywhere, the guy. But
that guy's terrible.
I will tell. I got my other browser up because now I can't remember who it was. You keep going. I'll tell you who it is. Maybe it was Neil Vag from Get Your Comic On, but it wasn't
that. Sounds exactly like Kevin Lance.
No, it was something else. You shut your mouth. You and Kevin can go and do whatever. You go and make out if you want to.
Skate.
It was something. Though. Yeah, yes, exactly. I'll go sit here. It's couple skate time for you guys. It has, again, nothing to do with Kevin. It was Ian Cullen. And but it was Sci-Fi Pulse. Somehow those kind of got together in my mind. I don't know. So I think the best is Aped has a new guy, Marvel Maximus. And if that's his real name, that is the most incredible name I've ever heard in my life. It's so good. Then this asshole, Gabe Hernandez. That guy's a dick. But
sus Gabe.
Yeah. Oh, God. Ian Cullen, I thought, was Kevin. So there. Kevin, where the feud's off.
Do you want to apologize to Kevin for besmirching his name?
I don't apologize.
I had to defend his honor. I felt like I was.
I'm glad you did. I'll tell you, I'm glad you did, because I was trying to hit on his thing, and it wasn't coming up. Now I see a 7.4. Now, somebody like me with the 3,000 plus reviews, mine was a 7.2. A little more, a little more down with it. But one of my things when I did actual written reviews that I was proud of is I used the whole space. I've given 1s and I've given a couple 10s, only a couple, but I've given, each score, each, gets its own deal. So Kevin, though, I'm going to look, though. I'm going to look. Recently, I see with these reviews. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's all over. When you look,
he's willing to give it a bad score.
Here's the deal: when you look at the review scores, and it looks like it's Christmas time, where you get a lot of equal greens and reds, then I'm like, okay, this guy he's legit. He's legit. He has a couple yellows in there.
He's one of the few reviewers that I take their reviewing seriously. I don't always obviously agree with him. Yeah, and I don't always agree with Gabe either. That's why I call him Sus Gabe, even though Gabe is one of the more reliable reviewers out there.
He did give Amazing Spider-Man an 8, so the feud's back on. I'll have to look. I don't know why I didn't. I don't know why I get it mixed up. I'm a little off on my game with I used to read every single review and know the people and have little conversations.
Probably the bloody dog shits. They threw you off.
Yeah, just my whole life. It's everything. It is what it is.
What was the name of the dog? Mooch? You're up with
now,
Mooch all
Milo.
night? Milo.
Yeah, Miles, Milo, and Mia are our names. And Miles is named after Miles Garrett, but there you go. My son Rafe loves the Cleveland Browns for some reason.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we both mostly skipped Time Slide. I did fully, but you didn't get too into it. But
I apologize to Kevin, by the way. I shouldn't have besmirched his name. I should have looked into it.
Now Kevin, you've been wanting to talk about Spider-Boy. Mm-hmm. It did come out, Dan Slott and Paco Medina.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of elements of Kidpool Spider-Boy present within Spider-Boy itself.
Yeah.
It's Spider-Boy teaming up with Daredevil in like a tag team martial arts tournament, not quite to the death, but it's certainly to the maiming.
Yeah.
And his arch nemesis, Spider-Girl, is there, and she's teamed up with Bullseye, but you've also got
Hulkette.
She's Hulkette, this little bit like redhead Hulk girl that's real spunky. And there's lots of jokes in this issue of Spider-Boy, but it's not nearly as fast and furious as you get in the Kid Spider-Boy book.
No.
So it was certainly more enjoyable. I made it all the way to the end. I don't know that I loved it. Like there are a couple of funny moments there when the dude knocked the one dude out with his own kid's teeth. That was kind of funny.
Then the Bruce Lee outfits, and then the guy's like, "You have shamed our family." He's like, "I'm sorry." You can't even talk. The whole setup of it again. When you say that, and people aren't reading it, all they'll hear is Spider-Girl, Hulkette. And that's just what this book is. It's not trying to elevate these characters into, superstars. They're just here. And in fact, I hope that you've only read a couple of issues of Spider-Boy. This isn't a book where Captain America is going to say how great Spider-Boy is. Spider-Boy's he's kind of a,
I thought Spider-Boy ate a monkey whole in this issue.
He bit the monkey, and that's the thing. Even in that, like, it's not like
he bit the monkey so hard, the big fat guy had to give up.
Oh, he had to give up because he has this. He has like a venom bite because he's Spider-Boy. But in that, like, Hulkette is only there because she and her guy, Normo, I guess it was, they were supposed to be in the tournament, and Matt and Bailey stole this horn to get in there. So they want revenge. They come in. And then Spider-Girl is only Spider-Girl to mess with Bailey. She's not really Spider-Girl. She's actually a mutant, though they ended up changing her thing. Before, she felt a lot like Taskmaster, that she could see anybody do something and she could do it. She ended up cliff diving, doing it. And then again, cliff diving, you just jump off a cliff. But she ends up where now they're changing it a bit to be, she can assume powers and assume multiple at a time, which is pretty OP. But in the meantime, it's okay. And you can see that Bullseye is using her and she doesn't think he is. So that'll be the way to get her in like the good side of things. But it's just stuff in this book. And in the meantime,
are we going to get a Deathstroke Terra situation?
I hope not. That would be weird. Pretty unfortunate. But even Matt there in Margeport, he's like, "Yeah, I got to go do some things. You just go off on your own." And Billy's like,
"You go find some ramen."
Yeah, he goes to get ramen.
Monkey out your mouth.
I thought one of the funnier jokes was, if you are reading this and his mom calls and Bailey like keeps trying to lie or whatever, but she said, "Make sure I'm sending you your homework. Make sure that Daredevil checks it, whatever." And he's like, "Okay." And then, "Who's your friend?" She's like, "Oh, hi, Mrs. Briggs, and her mom, "Oh, she's really cute." "No, she isn't, Mom." And that was funny. And then all of a sudden she says, "Who's that green girl behind you?" And the Hulkette's just there. "Hey, everybody." It's just what it is. It's a cute all ages book. That's all. It's not trying to be anything crazy. It's fine.
Every time I dip my toe back into Spider-Boy, it ends up being a down issue.
It's not a down issue. This one, it's a Kumite. Yeah, it's like Bloodsport. And this is the thing in this where
they stole it from Lazarus. Lazarus.
I mean, it is that. And even then, at least, we stole what? Because we never saw that tournament. They talked a lot about it, and then you had like one fight.
What are you talking about? That's all XXL.
Damien gets XXXL. Yeah, what was his big attack? Because all he did was have his hype guy, and they always were ready to fight. And then something popped up. I didn't mind it. I just knew that story was never going to be anything about the tournament. This actually has this goofy thing. And they're trying to, what is going on is that when Bailey was originally around. He ended up getting this horn. He ended up doing this stuff, and then everybody forgot him. Well, when they remembered him, Bullseye remembered this whole thing, and they're trying to keep Bullseye from winning the tournament. That's basically it. It's okay. It's fine. Like I said, I'm going to give it a high mid, but if you have been reading it, it's just a hot.
Don't give it a mid. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. And I love fighting tournaments like this and having like the crazy deal with like the guy with the monkey, a luchador with a monkey, a big sumo wrestler with a whole cat. It's the fun stuff. And then there's a tiger guys fighting the next deal, and that's fine.
You just see a guy get knocked out with his child's teeth.
Yeah, because Bullseye says, I need a weapon. Get me some teeth. And she's like, okay. Knocks out the guy's teeth because she is pretty good. She was more like Taskmaster. And I thought that what she was going to do is just watch them train or, get ready. And then she'd be able to fight him. But she's got these weird, like now mutant, get power type deal, which that's not as interesting.
She can read your mind.
Yeah, she read her mind too and knows Bailey. And that's the thing. Bailey has all those kids, especially that Helifino, that elephant friend. And I think she's going to try to use that against him when she says that I know everything and I'm going to bring you down, stuff like that. But we'll see.
Certainly a better version of what they were trying to execute.
Yeah.
Bull Spider-Boy, in my opinion.
Kid Bull Spider-Boy was just, we're going to come up with a bunch of jokes and try to make a story around it. So I did like at the one point at the end where Bailey's like sitting there and looks over and Spider-Girl's like, hey, good luck, Spider B. Hey, thanks, Spidey G. And then Bullseye's like, what the hell are you doing? She's like, I'm messing with him. But yeah, it was fine.
Did you read ASN this week? I think we got a Justina Ireland, Gleb Melnikoff issue of 8 Deaths of Spider-Man.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I read it.
Good, because I didn't read it. You didn't
read it? Oh, my goodness gracious. You mean the biggest book ever? Yeah.
Normally, I don't skip out on the flagship books, but it was an accident. I meant to read it.
Well, this is the thing about this issue. We don't. This tournament thing, it has no weight. It has nothing to it because you've never established rules. You've never established really it's the idea. It's the end of the world if you lose. Oh, okay. Well, Spidey finally is fed up. He's fed up and he says to Dr. Strange, the astral projection, Dr. Strange, listen, I'm sick of doing this. What are the rules? And he goes, what? I told you those. Okay. Then he goes, but what's at stake? I said that already. And then we don't get it. He actually says like, I told you the rules, it's what they are. And that you get nothing. And it's frustrating to even bring it up, to not give something. Then at one point you end up where he says, what gives with this dying? Like, do I have to die at the end of every deal? And Dr. Strange is like, yeah, because there's a cost to fighting demons like this. I'm like, but that's not what it was.
You know what the weird thing is when they introduced it, he said, listen, I'm going to have you fight on behalf of Earth against the Sons of Sidorak.
Yep.
And I'm going to give you these 8 reads just in case you die.
Just in case. Now he says, now it's almost like Dr. Strange says, no, there's a cost. And even then we said he'll win a contest, which we barely know. These contests are like, hey, surprise me. Hey, don't let me give up. Make me give.
It's very much like Ten of Swords bullshit.
I said it is. It's like Ten of Swords at one point where they were doing jacks as a joke, and you're like, I don't need a joke here. It's like that. I keep saying it in my reviews. So you end up where, Spidey says, well, I don't want to die every time. Like, why? Well, there's a cost of fighting demons, but that's why I gave you the reads. And I'm like, but that didn't seem like that at the beginning. And again, you're not giving us any sort of rules or whatever. So obviously, if you're going to bring that up, this is the one time that he doesn't seem to die. But it just seems like I think he's going to die now because he has an extra now. I think he'll die 3 times next issue just to go one back. It just, you end up with these twins and he shows up and says, hey, I'm going to fight you. But while that's going on, I'm going to send my face huggers. I'm going to send out, it looks like stuff from like Half-Life 2, these dogs. And it's not even like, hey, I'm going to send my dogs out in the city, these demon dogs, and you have to protect everybody. Because Spidey goes off, he ends up killing these dogs, sends them back to wherever. And then it comes down to, I'm not going to give in. I won't, he has to tap out. And then eventually he does. And that's it. And it's nothing. It's really nothing. At one point, one of these dogs seemingly kills a girl's mother, and he uses a spell to bring her back. And that's how I took it. It was very odd. And I wish he would have yelled like, "One more day, Alakazam." But you have that. Then in the meantime, he seems to be okay with May. Remember, they were yelling, and May's like, "I'll take the bus," last issue. Well, now they're okay. He's helping out. But he has set up a date with Shay to go over to Aunt May's. And I'll ask you, because this is something I said on my review. Would you ever have a new girlfriend and say, "I'll meet you at my aunt's"? There's no way. You would pick her up. You would not want her to get there and talk shit on you, or vice versa, or whatever. But that's what happens. Shay gets there. Peter obviously is always late. He's never there. And so they're going to talk about things, about Peter and how good a man he is. But in the meantime, Peter's just fighting the stupid thing. And then at the end, you see, he's now going to have to fight the sister. And yeah, it's not great.
Well, it means so much because they've totally established the sister and the Sons of Sidorak and what this all means. Like, I can't wait for them to fight this other sister.
Even that, when you have it, like they had that one scene where they were, talking about, and they keep saying, "Oh, Daddy, he's going to want this and want that." At one point, it seemed like you were like these scions. If they win, they become the new big thing. But then at last issue, whoever it was said, "Oh, wait till you see if I win and my dad comes and just destroys everything." And like everything gets like weird. Everything gets turned. And then by the end, you're just like, why are we dealing with this? And Justine Ireland definitely does not care about, well, she might care less than I do about this tournament. It just is nothing. It's nothing. And now we're just waiting for Juggernaut to show up, but you don't even know how many. It's just called the 8 Deaths. So you figure it's just nothing was set up. It is a placeholder story. Weird that this was the deal with Joe Kelly, and then he's now going to be the main writer. And people are defending him on this, saying that, "Oh, no, I think it's not his story." Now, it might be a lot of Nick Lowe, but the idea that they're blaming Justine Ireland, I think she's just along for the ride. I think this is a Joe Kelly story. It just didn't have much going on. They came up with something at the last second to take some time, I guess. I don't know. It's a not.
Sounds like, I thought you were giving it a hot, resounding.
No, and I like it better than the first two Joe. I liked her ones a little better than the Joe Kelly ones, but they're all bad. I don't want to give something a good score because it's better than a real bad thing. They're all real bad. So I'll give it a not. I'll give it a not.
I can't give it anything, so I didn't read it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's and the thing is, even if it would have been something like, "Hey, Shadok and me talk about it," it's getting to the point where it's just boring.
I wouldn't review this
because you did the deal. Yeah, and it's just there's not much going on. You just kind of try to get through it and hope there's something, but there isn't. There's nothing.
I've got 2 books in the running for Worst of the Week with Doc, and we'll talk about those 2 next.
Yes.
This is what I read instead of ASM, and I feel stupid because from your description of Amazing Spider-Man this week, it would have been more enjoyable than Iron Man #3.
Yeah.
Was it Spencer Ackerman, Julius Ota?
Yeah.
Did you read this book?
I did not.
You're very, very lucky.
I've had enough. I didn't even.
There's been a hostile takeover by Justine Hammer, and they're going to combine Stark Industries and Roxxon, and guess what they're going to name it? Starkson.
Starkson. Oh, that's
and
clever.
They say it over and over again as if they're the most clever people. And they're so happy.
Starkson.
And then you have Iron Man in his steampunk Iron Man suit, like trying to get to the board meeting, even though he can't stop it. And he like gives a speech about why they shouldn't do it. And then they laugh at him. They do the board meeting. Everyone votes. They're now merged. They bought him out. She says she needs the suit back. He's like, "Well, you're just going to have to sue me." And then they want the investors to be like demons and stuff like that. Yeah. And I don't think this has anything to do with Iron Man or the Marvel Comics universe or superhero comics in general. It's like Spencer Ackerman's take, like I guess, on the industrial war complex or whatever, and the back dealings, the way they screw each other over. And in the end, Iron Man's able to stop.
But that's so much fun.
It was a fucking hoot.
It's so much.
And then Justine Hammer gives him the thing, and she's like, "You're the Ironmonger now," and walks away. And I was like, "You got to be fucking kidding me!" This thing, it is so poorly executed. You could tell this dude not only has never written anything that was like fiction, but he's never written a comic book. He's probably never read a comic book, and certainly never wanted to write a comic book in his life. It is awful. One of the worst pieces of shit I've read in a long time. And I don't know that I can suffer through talking about it again with Doc. I'll probably just have to go with option B.
But Doc will yell a lot.
Do it.
You could relax a little while he's yelling. You're the Ironmonger now. I'm looking at it now.
It was bad.
Yeah. It'd be funny if they just started like calling each other like names like that. Well, they had Starks and you're the Ironmonger now. Maybe one of them is
it's almost as clever as absolute Batman is like, "Oh, you're such a Riddler.
Yeah.
Don't be a killer, Croc. Don't be a Joker.
Hey." That's oh my God. Whoa. I was just going to say something with Penguin, but that doesn't really make as much sense. But yeah, so over the top.
Are you wearing a penguin suit?
Hey there. Yeah. God. No Jokers allowed.
Conversations.
I love when people think that and they're like, "Oh, it's so clever." So I like that.
Nobody thinks it's clever. Everyone with half a brain at least is just like, "Oh God, this is cringe." Thankfully, he's melting people and blowing people up in the other page.
Well, he's melting them and like, "Man, you look like you got a clay face." I did it. And he's all excited. Yes. Yeah. There's the Iron Man. I just want him to like just start yelling random stuff, just stupid shit. But yeah, I see him there. He's looking at that little trinket. Yeah, I said some people were. I said after that first issue, he's making a steampunk suit. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's not there. I'm like, yeah.
We'd already seen the cover with it on.
Yeah, you even had it in the credits page of the first one. We're like, we saw it, and they're like, no, you're getting it all wrong. And then when I didn't like it, it was because I wasn't smart enough. Because you don't know the geopolitical, I'm like, get out of town. And this is where I'll say, because it is, some economic,
I'm smart enough to know that I don't want to read books like this.
And so this is where I want to say, because there's bound to be somebody, I'd probably call him an asshole, but they'd be there in the comments, right? And they'll be like, "Oh, you guys don't get it. There's always been politics." And I see this all the time. And all I say is, that doesn't mean it's good. Like, yeah, there's been politics. There's been issues. There's all those things in comics, but there's times that it's done good and bad. Don't just throw that catchphrase nonsense out there to make it seem like every time there's politics, it's good. And this sort of thing as well, corporate takeovers and things like that. Like if I end up, I don't seek that out for, pleasurable reading in the norm. I'm not like, oh, let's read about this corporate takeover. If that's you, then maybe you'll like it. But yeah, I'm looking at it and boy, there's a lot of
Penthouse Forum. Let's put it out like that.
Yeah,
if you're looking for pleasure.
Yeah, seriously. Dear Penthouse Forum, I never thought that this would happen to me. Like, you always I ordered a pizza. You end up where I'm looking, and when I go through a book and I see, I told you this before, it's people standing around almost being consumed by word bubbles. Like they have to watch out. They're going to end up suffocating in some of these. That shows me that it's just, you're not a comic book writer, that there's a certain thing called art that you can rely on. You don't need to just blah, blah, blah. But the concept is, how are you going to show this bullshit with art? Because it's not comic book stuff. It's board meeting stuff, behind the scenes board meetings, shady deals, whatever like that. It's not going to last.
Boring. I would rather read a Harley Quinn Fartacular special than another fucking issue of this Iron Man. It's that bad.
I had a bit of a Fartacular special myself yesterday after that, but I wasn't writing a book about it. So I don't want to write. I don't want to read either. So
I thought you were going to talk about your dog, like
no. Tony in the suit though, it'd be hilarious if he like started fighting, and he doesn't have like the vents that he did before, and he's giving himself a Dutch oven. Now that's hilarious. But he's the Ironmonger now.
Jim, you seem like you would be a man that would throw out a Dutch oven every once in a while.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's times where I'll legitimately, keep myself in check.
You give yourself a Dutch oven?
Sometimes I like to,
That's weird.
you keep yourself honest that way. There's rarely been a time where I didn't think my fart smelled like something, and it drives people nuts. Like I legit, I'm telling you, I'm not.
Does that smell like corned beef to you?
No. What the biggest thing is, if I do go to Texas for the deal, and me and you will go to McDonald's. I will buy 2 Egg McMuffins, and we will wait for approximately a minute and a half, and you will smell it again. And people, that's impossible. I'm like, it is not. I'm telling you, those things, whew, they smell pretty good.
Are you saying that after consuming a Egg McMuffin, that within a minute you will fart?
Yes.
An exact replica of the exact scent of an Egg McMuffin?
It's as if I've cloned it. And I said, if I won $1 million, that's all I want to do is research that this is true.
Why aren't you on America's Got Talent?
It should be. Just imagine.
It's like $1 million special.
They're like, what is he doing? It'd be one of those like shorts with he's eating an Egg McMuffin. Then I just go over the table.
And then you like blow it apart.
I just blow it at him. They hit me. I'm right to Vegas. I don't know.
Howie Mandel's face, because you know that he's like a big
he loves that sort of thing. Right in his face.
It smells just like a fresh Krispy Kreme.
He's like, oh my God, I won an Egg McMuffin now. And then they hit the button. I'm right off. I get the goal, whatever that fucking button. I've never watched the show, but I've seen tons of videos. And they like with, the little girl who was afraid to sing. And then she sings like an angel. I'm always crying all over the place. They're hitting that button. Good stuff. Yeah.
So this is going to be on YouTube's, and we found out that Jim has.
I realized that. The thing is, halfway through that, I realized the light bulb went.
Superhero at this point.
I am.
I want to know what the viewers. Do you have a special skill like being able to eat a Egg McMuffin and fart out the exact?
It's like I'm sinister. I'm cloning the shit out. I'm cloning the shit out of it. It's coming out, and I'm loving it. If I could fart with
we're not going to eat at McDonald's. What I'm told, McDonald's is far too expensive for
it is.
A father of 3. Right
now, if you get you have to get the apps. If you're in the U.S., get the apps. You can get some deals. You can get a buy one get one free breakfast sandwich, and I might even treat if I'm there. I doubt if I'll be there, but you can think of me and just think, boy, I could have been smelling Egg McMuffins.
Is Jim here? I feel like I can smell his farts.
All of a sudden, you're smelling like I smell steak tartare. Is Jim here? They're like, no, we're just cooking you dinner is what we're doing. But so there you go, everybody. I realized halfway through, I'm like, yeah, we're on YouTube, aren't we? Oh God.
Jim shows up, you're like, you went to Chipotle without me. That's a burrito bowl.
That's extra the tell. Block. I'm trying to hide it. That wasn't me. Damn right it was you. I smell it. Burrito bowl. I got to eat a lot right now because of my son is ripping apart our house. We don't have an oven. We don't have anything to cook with at the moment, not even in the air fryer or the microwave. Those have been put out commission. I got to eat fast food, and I don't really like it. But when I start eating it, I get really into I don't want to stop them, but I'm getting bored.
You going to Arby's?
Not yet. I told you before I have coupons, but we have at one point the stretch in my town in Quakertown. We have a what was the mile with the most fast food restaurants in any mile in the world. That's not the case anymore. But we have just about everything except KFC, and that's what I did because of that.
KFC sucks now.
I know it does, but
you remember it being great when you were a kid, but
it was so good when I was a kid.
Cheap on everything. It's not even crispy anymore. It's disgusting.
Yeah. So we have. I'll
mashed potatoes and gravy are still good.
I have some mashed potatoes down there, but no gravy. But I end up now. The dogs are going nuts in the background. But I also want to maybe get a pizza tonight. But we'll see.
Dude. It's time to go to the great state of Montana and get a fucking Arby's Big Montana, dude.
Maybe.
Nut the fuck up, Jim.
The thing was like a brisket. I have a coupon for like a brisket type sandwich, and I haven't eaten.
That's fine. Get some fucking seasoned curlies with it, dude.
Actually, you know that they have like a stupid, what's it called? Crinkle fries now, like crinkle cut deal. Who the hell eats those? That's like you're in like second grade lunchroom.
Man, that's the shit. That's like cafeteria food.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Get the seasoned curlies with a load of potato bites.
I really love curly fries, but I do like the beef and cheddar, but I haven't had one in a while. So
Big Montana is just an oversized beef and cheddar, dude.
Yeah, well, I might have that too. Might have them all. Who knows?
You couldn't handle Montana.
I probably couldn't. I usually can. If I go to like the Shady Maple, the buffet, that's the biggest buffet in the world near us or in the U.S.
You'll eat enough.
I will eat a lot. Yeah, I'll eat
on the way home.
Yeah, I will definitely. And then almost like threaten my kids that I'm going to put steaks up my sleeves and in my pockets. But they kind of check you when you're leaving. They don't want that happening.
They give you a pat down?
They give you the pat down of steak. Like,
what,
get over
salmon?
here.
You got some salmon in your belt?
They're like, I smell some. I'm like, I just farted. It wasn't in my pocket. I farted, my man. They actually, in the bathrooms there, they have grinders because it's so disgusting. People just gorge themselves there. But there you go. That's what you get. YouTube.
Jim is getting real gross today.
Yeah. That's me.
But I also did read X-Men from Jed MacKay. Half of the book, I think, is illustrated by Federico Vicentini, and then the other half of the book is done by Stegman.
I have it here. Yeah.
Surprisingly, the Vicentini art, I think, looks better. Maybe he should have been a full-time artist on X-Men. And this is part 3 of Raid on Greymalkin, the crossover with Uncanny X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's hard to know where to start with what a dumbass fucking book this is. At the very beginning, you have Psylocke. Mm-hmm. She's fighting Nightcrawler, and he has banned them out of the general vicinity of the dude that's making them all mad at each other because they got a dude doing that to them. And he goes, do you get like the impression that we're no longer angry at each other? I shit you not. At that very moment, she has a sword to his throat and is threatening to cut his head off.
Yep.
I would say that, no, she's still angry.
And looks pissed. It's not like she's like, oh my God, what's happening? She's like, I'm driving this thing through. You're dead. And he's like, don't you notice that, like,
we're not angry anymore. I was like, no, she's about to kill you.
Yeah, she's about to kill him. But they're on the lower levels. That's why they're in the old Morlock tunnels or
like
nonsense.
What kind of fucking dumbass like doesn't realize the visual story that's being told doesn't match up to the words?
I paused it. I muted because my dogs are going. I don't know. Somebody's supposed to be watching them. But yeah, the thing is, if you're going to do that, have her drop the sword and then say, oh my God, what's going on? And then say that. Yeah. And
why did I want to kill you?
Yeah. Even then it's where we had in that Iron Man where you're just talking instead of letting everything tell the story. This actually goes against, what you're seeing. It's like almost like Nightcrawler's a second ahead or something. But yeah. She still looks pissed. Looks like she's going to kill him.
Oh, yeah, she's about to cut his fucking head off.
Yep.
He's like, oh, we're not angry anymore. I was like, I don't know about you, dude.
Yep.
But I'd be bamfing the fuck out of there because it looks like she still is angry.
Yep.
And then you get like, I don't know, it's like Rogue versus Cyclops, like threatening each other, but then they take out the Blob. Who else is there? A couple other mutants that they call that they've taken over and made like their mind slaves or whatever. And it's just it's a nothing book. There's nothing to this. It's not interesting whatsoever. It's interrupting Jed MacKay establishing what his X-Men run event is going to be with this stupid event that does nothing. Makes neither of the teams look good. And you've got all these dumbass new outlier characters from Uncanny X-Men looking stupid all over the fucking place. And of all the issues of X-Men thus far, and I haven't liked very many of them, I've disliked this one the most. I thought it sucked.
Yeah. This book's just boring. This whole story, it's like this big crossover deal, but who cares? I don't hear anybody talking about it. It's just boring.
Yeah. The only good thing is that it reads like it's about 5 pages.
Yeah, that actually, I'll tell you that.
Well, the suffering isn't prolonged.
I was like, holy crap, it's over. Like, but that's because nothing's really going on. It just kind of happens and then it's done. Yeah.
And there is like some type of there was some type of weird like chemistry between Temper and somebody. Remember that happening? Don't remember who it was though.
I don't remember that.
That's how boring the book was.
Yeah.
They got flushed it immediately.
Yeah, it's not very good. It's not very good. And people I think that people are past the idea of, oh, well, it's Jed McKay. It has to be good because a lot of his stuff hasn't been. It's a shame. I just don't think that this is the book. This type of book is
I'm in it's Jed McKay. It's probably not good fucking territory.
I think that he's better at those singular characters and these side characters like a Moon Knight. People will always point to that. But I think he'd be better doing, say, a Daredevil or something along those lines. Or even if it was the X-Men stuff, maybe he'd be better at Wolverine than a whole team. And then having just tons of characters, it's just there's not much going on.
I'm giving that one a nod.
Yeah, I'll give it a nod as well.
Did you read any more Marvel books? There's still Blade, Exceptional X-Men, Moon Knight, Ultimate Black Panther.
I was going to read West Coast Avengers just to see if it continued to be goofy. And I just ran out of time, so I didn't. And I've kind of given up on the Ultimate books. I'm kind of checking out on those now. So eventually,
even Spider-Man?
Yeah, I don't even know that I'm going to read. So
Dude, you cannot give up the Ultimates. That's our guilty pleasure together.
Well, the Ultimates for me and you, we'll still be laughing at that. I mean, just in general, like if I have to pick, like, oh, am I going to read, Ultimate Black Panther? I just each time I'm sure I'll read Ultimate Black Panther by the end of the weekend, but my heart's not in the Ultimate things anymore.
Not a priority right now.
No, it's just not very good.
Wrapping up Marvel, Jim and I agree that Hellhunters is a definite hot. We also agree that X-Men is a not. I say that Kidpool, Spider-Boy, and Iron Man are knots, and then Jim says ASM is a not.
Yep.
Time to take a gander at DC Comics. Obviously, we did hit Absolute Wonder Woman first because it was so ridiculous with the arm thing, but they also had Metamorpho, the Element Man #1, as well as new issues of Action Comics, Gargoyle of Gotham, Last Halloween, Black Canary, Detective Comics, Flash, Green Arrow, Harley Quinn, Justice League Unlimited, and Superman. So they actually had some pretty prominent books out there. Yeah. I did decide to read Metamorpho, the Element Man #1 from Al Ewing and Steve Lieber.
Yeah.
And Al Ewing should definitely send Steve Lieber like a really nice Christmas card because he's the only thing that makes that comic bearable is the art.
So it's like a real shitty quarterback who like gets the lineman some presents for the deal because
samurai swords is what Joe Burrow did.
Yeah. Very odd. But yeah, this is a weird book. But again, this is where when people heard, oh my God, Al Ewing and all they'll bring up is Immortal Hulk. This is more like what he usually does. This is the let's play fun with, old school deal. Let's pretend we're Silver Age. Let's do all this stuff. And
but with none of the charm.
And that's the problem. And maybe some people would disagree, like with, say, the Immortal Thor and some of the stuff they did there, or even like he did that as well with the Defenders Beyond. And none of these, except the Immortal Thor, that's lasted a bit, but most of them get canceled. But here at DC, I think that some people, I don't know, maybe they'll like it because they're not used to a shtick, but it doesn't really have the charm in my mind. It's trying to be funny for funny's sake. It almost feels like it's like, hey, look at this. Let's laugh at how it was, not being like, hey, let's remember what was good about it. And it just ends up kind of, you said, the art, it saves what is a nothing issue. And it's weird.
The writing very reminiscent of that Kidpool Spider-Boy book that I really didn't like from Marvel. It was just like joke, bad punchline. But none of the jokes land in this one. Just none of it's interesting or funny. Metamorpho is a hard character to nail, and he doesn't get anywhere near the vicinity of what makes Metamorpho cool.
Yeah, and he's trying to give, and they said at one point, because Element Woman shows up and she died, but they're not going to really explain it. That's why he said, oh, the Doomsday Diamond incident. Okay, well, and he had an interview and said, we were told or we decided that it's not going to go through a lot of continuity. It'll give you a little bit of a wink of how things happen to go forward. But the idea is this whole villain that is like the living embodiment of the staff around. It doesn't hit unless you really know the character, but it's not really going to tell you about the character. And in the meantime, you have Rex Mason, Metamorpho, just kind of like stumbling around through this, and more to like throw shade. And, Java's looked at as, oh, look at you, moron, the end of it. It just, everything is like a goof, and it just didn't play out.
It's like what a millennial thinks that a Silver Age comic book felt like, but never read one, is the way it kind of reads to me.
Yeah, and I mean, Al Ewing seems like that's like his thing. It's funny because what it does remind me a lot of, but doesn't have the charm, because it's something that amazingly I actually liked a bit, was Dan Didio's Metal Men book a couple years ago, where he loves that stuff. He loves that. So you could tell that he cared. It was something. This feels like somebody who was assigned a character, decides to do it, and then just goes full out, oh, I'm going to go with the Silver Age. Instead of going full out character, goes out full out era, and it just doesn't come out great. It doesn't. By the end, you kind of just sit there and think, why am I reading this? There are some, Metamorpho stories out there. One of the ones that I'm doing right now on our Patreon is the year one that Dan Jurgens did, which is really good. Like, you could go and read that and be better served than this. This just feels like it's nothing. It's just a guy who got a job, and he's going to cash the paycheck and try to give people the, hey, look, Metamorpho, and then away he goes. Most people say, I like him on the outside, stuff like that. But this is as a solo deal. I never thought it would work. And then when I read this, it's for, a very, very tight bunch of people, like 3. And I'm not one of them. So we'll see. I have to do this on our Patreon Spotlight tonight. So I'm looking forward, because my man Eric, he's not a huge Metamorpho fan either. So I want to see what he thinks. And it's not even like I hate Metamorpho. He ended up where he read like 2 issues of Immortal Hulk at the beginning of the run, hated it, and then ended up where he went to go see what Al Ewing was doing, and went to Twitter and was already blocked by him, unbeknownst to him, because he'd never even heard the name the day before. And he was upset, like Sully. But yeah, he's not a big Al Ewing fan either. Every time you mention Immortal Hulk to him, all he knows, he's like, the night is his time, or whatever they would say at that one point, like, the nighttime is his time. He knows nothing of it. So you'll have people who claim that this is smarter than it is, and it's really not. It tries to have fun, but it just feels like it's trying too hard.
Yeah, it's a not funny person trying to tell jokes.
Yeah, and
I've come to this conclusion for a very long time that Immortal Hulk was an aberration, much like Moon Knight is an aberration for Jed McKay.
It's the same type.
That's literally the best thing that he will ever be able to do, and he will never ever come close to touching it again in his lifetime. And you're going to get way more stuff like Metamorpho, the Element Man, which I didn't make it all the way through. I actually did eject.
It's not horrible.
I think once Element Woman showed up,
yeah,
I was just like, why am I still here?
It's just not great. And so when you're doing this, and again, when I would say to people when this was even announced and stuff, yeah, it is. Where people, oh man, Al Ewing, all right, I love Immortal Hulk, and oh man, I'm not a big fan. What do you mean? I say, look at his bibliography. Look at the rest. He has done at least 12 books since Immortal Hulk, and they all failed, except Immortal Thor. People do seem to like that. Whatever. But he's had so many. We said we like that Ant-Man mini, but then he had the Wasp mini. Then he had the Avengers Inc. and Defenders Beyond. And all these things just all swirl together into nonsense that weren't really good. And it always has that, I'm going to kind of give you that Silver Age fun deal, but never really does. And just always fails. But Immortal Hulk. There you go. So I'm sure this first issue will get some people will grab it, but I don't see many people continuing.
Metamorpho, I don't think they will grab it.
Yeah, I just think Al Ewing. Well, we'll see. And that's the other thing that if you
Birdliner,
when they say about not even just with Immortal Hulk is saying that that's the outlier of his writing, it was that one thing that sold. And at one point it was a big thing that it was selling more than Batman.
Selling it. ASM.
That was huge. Yeah, an ASM. It was a huge thing. That only lasted a little bit. And even for me, I ditched Immortal Hulk at that 25. That 25th issue was garbage. And then I did come back. It took me till like the end of the 30s because I caught up and I wanted to finish. But by you get to 50, I didn't enjoy it even that.
You regretted it.
Yeah, I just ended up saying like it was better than that number 25, but it wasn't what it was in the first.
That
10.
Number 25 is unreadable trash.
Oh my God. People were so mad at me when I said I'm done. I can't even get through this thing. I thought I was high, but in a bad way, I guess. I don't know. It was a bad trip I had, but it was not good. And this is a book that what you're going to get It's like it's the no lose. If it doesn't do well, you can blame Metamorpho. You could just say, well, Metamorpho, that, but I don't know. You kind of just are joking around. It's a mess. It's a not for me.
Very Mark Russell-esque.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and if people don't realize that, that's an insult.
Huge insult.
That was not a compliment. Yeah. Like I said, I think that like Mark Russell, he's busy telling his, tales of woe of how this is that and whatever, and avoids the character stuff. In this, I mean, he's trying to do, but he wants to tell more jokes and actually tell you anything of what's going on. And the villain is so like obscure and on the side that it just ends up being kind of goofy. So
I'll give it a 9.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 9.
What a waste of Steve Lieber.
Yeah, the art's really good. Really good.
Now, I did read Detective Comics this week from, obviously, Tom Taylor, Michael Gannon. First issue that he came on, I thought it was pretty darn good. Second issue, I was like, oh, this thing could go bad if he continues down, like, kind of where it was going. The third issue, none of the stuff that was bad in the second issue is present.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of bounces back and is just as good as the first issue we did.
It's okay. I still my biggest problem is that Batman took a drug that he didn't check out.
Well, he's trying to check it out now.
Well,
like,
that's
got somebody else's stem cells.
I love the idea, and so he's like, "Hey, what are the results? What are the results now that I've taken it?" And it's pretty much in my and then if it's just me, but it does feel like the idea of those Hollywood people drinking the kids' spinal fluids. It just feels like that. It's just going to end up being this idea of, they're grabbing kids' blood. And like, all right, I don't need that. But I don't know. I still think that Batman's an idiot for taking this drug. I thought that it was going to be a phony. I thought they were going to inject it and he'd have like this fake skin deal that collected and then he checks it out and then has to pretend he's youthful. Like the idea that all of a sudden he starts wearing Janko jeans or something. But he
like when you go down to Mexico for Botox and they like inject you with like fucking epoxy or something.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden your butt cheek doesn't move anymore.
Your butt cheek what the hell happened? You're like, oh my goodness. But yeah, it just ends up feeling like he should have checked it out. And then even in this issue, things do just kind of happen, but I didn't mind it. I still think it's good. I like seeing Damian there. And yeah, they're just trying to figure it out.
I don't like seeing Damian there. I like seeing Damian and Batman and Robin. I wish he
you don't like him there? I don't mind him. Now, some points
I prefer him just to be in his other book.
Yeah.
Because they're doing stuff within there that's important. And
beat the crap out of people.
Well, he's there to trade with them. Like, yeah, you're noticeably faster. And it feels like you're processing information faster.
And yeah, that's all it is. He's the narration of, man, you're very youthful, Daddy. But when this all started, and if people aren't aware, the girl that is involved with this injection, she is a lifelong friend who happens to be the daughter of Joe Chill that was taken away, all these things. And I said, when people said like, hey, he's taking the injection because he knows her and whatever, it's still not Batman-esque. But with that,
Batman's got plans to take down Superman. He don't trust nobody.
No, he doesn't trust anybody. But I said that legitimately, there's no way in my mind that Tom Taylor was going to make this girl bad. There was going to be a play where she was being made, and you see it here. She's nervous to talk about things, and she's going. So obviously, she's trying to do this to save her mother.
To get him to stop thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, and then all he thought of was,
piece of pussy. Would you stop asking questions?
Getting her hard drive. He gave her the hard drive. You end up where he has plans to take down Superman and also to bed down any lady he runs into. But the idea,
at least he's out there scoring chicks.
Yeah, I mean, and he does the deal. I like Damian's like, how did you get this? Like Damian's real concerned about it. But in the meantime, Bruce asked about her mother, and the mother's kind of been left in the gray area, the idea. Well. And she says, oh, she's not doing well. Well, why don't you let her take this, cure thing? No, it won't help her. Now we can't do that. And obviously she wants to, I think, and that would, but they're not letting her. So she's trying to do something. But I did that right from the get-go.
I think they have her mother kidnapped, and that's how they're getting
probably
her
the
to
deal.
do it.
Now at the beginning, it could be also, we have this killer that's going around and killing them. Eric on our podcast said that he thinks that's the mother, that they've actually have given her these stuff and turned her into a killer. It might be. I don't know. Because if it's not her, there's only one other person.
Because we saw a face reveal.
Yeah.
She appears to be the wrong race to be that girl's mother.
I'm telling you, something.
She kind of looks like a Koye.
Yeah. It's weird though. Like, you only have one other person in this book, and that's that other doctor. Like, who could it be? But it might just be somebody separate. We'll have to see. But the idea that they definitely have her mother, right? They have her mother.
I totally screwed this up. We got the face reveal of the killer in Green Arrow, not in Detective.
Yeah. This one you don't get.
Green Arrow's got a lot of detective vibes to it.
It does. And I'm telling you, I said that at one point when you had Ram V, not that I liked as detective, but it was so different. Awful. It was so different than Batman that I never would get even those mixed up. I'm starting to get everything mixed up now. A lot of the stuff has a very similar vein, but in this, I do like the art a lot. And again, I like the stuff going on, and you do have, I mean, it's kind of detective.
Batman's doing some detective work.
Sweet love making, but yeah, they end up having
a dead body.
There's I love secret organizations that, tie into weird stuff because they have this Grail type guys there, and Bruce can't dig them up. And then you even have like little jokes, like Tom Taylor will go over the top with things, but when this girl says, oh man, like, you probably own this restaurant, he doesn't say anything, and then they leave without paying. She's like, aren't you going to pay? He's like, yeah, I own the restaurant. That's kind of funny. Like, that was more subtle than usually what he does. But then they just get, like, some of the things, like, they get robbed then right outside this place, and then they're both just to
turns out she's more of a badass than Bruce Wayne is.
Yeah, and again, what you're going to want to believe, and maybe it's true, but you're going to want to believe she's the killer, because now all of a sudden, oh my God, she can do all this, all that. So it kind of, and you don't know that many other people. I still think they brought up the mom because she is like completely over the top. Maybe it ends up being one of those things where the initial drug that they did that she gave to the mom, and it went a little wacky, and now they've grabbed her and used her for, I don't know. We'll have to see, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was. As soon as
Bruce started asking questions, like, listen, technically, you're not supposed to be in on this study. I had to pull a lot of strings. You can't be asking questions. Mm-hmm. And like, oh no, we're being monitored.
Yeah, and he said she's nervous. She doesn't want to talk, and that gives you, or she's playing it up. That could be a whole ruse.
She's a bad guy.
I don't know. The idea with Tom Taylor, with the lifelong friend and the redemption of, I think that maybe, but it could be the idea that because she's going after people at first.
I think she put out just to lure him in. She probably knows he's Batman.
Yeah, probably. She seems to know.
She's asking about all bars and bullet holes.
Yeah, she knows a little too much. Yeah, she might. And then if that's the case, then she's dead. She'll die at the end. She'll fall off a building or something. But we'll see. But she can kick ass.
It was a good issue. I enjoyed it. Some detective work. We don't get that all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, we got introduced to some dudes working for an organization we'd never heard of.
Yep. Yeah.
It just so happens that the name of the drug is related to the Grail.
Grail, yeah, it's related to the Grail. At least at this point, too, he finds out there's a secret organization he doesn't know about and doesn't just straight out deny it, like the Court of Owls or the League of Shadows. Or he's always like, it doesn't. If I don't know it, it does not end up being something. But he's like, yeah, he's interested. Damien's on the case as well. I know you don't like it, but that's okay. I do like where Bruce says, like, I think you might have set me up with those guys robbing us, like you. She might have. She actually might have, like, thinking, okay, I got to see if he's Batman or not.
They're going to nail this dude.
Yeah. She wants to make sweet love with him. But yeah, and I love Damien just like, he keeps asking, but how did you get that? Barbara's like, just cut it. You don't want to know that. You're too young.
But she's associated with the, was it Arkham?
Yeah, no, it's like it seems like juvie hall kind of deal.
That's right. It's a juvenile detention center where all these kids are getting drained of their blood.
Yeah. Again, that feels a lot like, from the conspiracy theories of, oh my God, everybody's eating kids, spinal fluid, or they're doing this, so it's fine. But that's
blood transfusions for kids and stuff.
Yeah.
It's creepy shit, dude.
You're just getting other blood, They have to be doing something a little more than that, but hey, we'll see. But
definitely you agree?
Yeah. Yep. I'll go with it.
Moving on to the aforementioned Green Arrow, Chris Condon writing with Montos on art. This issue starts out a little bit on the wrong foot. It's that Ramirez girl, it's Green Arrow, like becoming buddies because her dog is named Arrow, but it's not named after him. And they're going to this crime scene or whatever. And I was like, man, he's really kind of dropping the ball here on this second issue. And she has to take her dog with her to the crime scene. And the little computer nerd guy is like a big fan of Green Arrow. And then someone's like, hey, your dog is barking. Do you want me to walk him? And she's like, not unless you want to get bit. So she has to leave to go and walk the dog. And Green Arrow was like, where is this guy? He didn't try to avoid the camera. Where do we have him leaving? And they cannot find where he left. And he realizes, fuck, he's still here. And he brings up all the live cameras and you see the dude is following her. I thought that was a great moment. He pulled it off really well. And that's when the comic book gets real good.
Yeah. The dialogue is a little off. I don't know that he's quite got the dialogue fully for Green Arrow, but it's okay. And even like the other guys in it, but there's the fanboys, and the one cop doesn't.
I didn't like the detective going, what are you, like some far lefty superhero? Let him be who he is and let the audience make their mind up.
And again, it's trying to give you the, hey, look, we're doing the, back in the day stuff, but we get it. We kind of already get it. So you don't need to really play that out, but some of the things are a little off, but by the end I still like it. And it was weird because you get this freshwater killer or whatever the hell, the worst name ever, and they end up taking this person down, but it looks like there might be like, is this the only one, or there's more? She's just somebody who has been affected by this water deal, because remember they're killing people by making them drink contaminated water and then putting pH strips down their throat. It's kind of hokey, but we'll see how it goes.
Very Batman-esque more than Green Arrow. But I definitely, the first issue that he did and the second issue, I much more appreciated Oliver being like I'm better than you, I'm mightier than you kind of pretentious prick, than him kind of being a little quippy and she's going, oh, you're a far lefty, huh? I much prefer the way he was talking in the first issue and just being a complete asswipe.
The funny thing about it does feel Batman-esque, but the funny thing about the first couple issues that we thought were that he was like, he thought that he was kind of like, okay, I'm going to do like Batman does. And everybody was like calling him out. And then he was getting mad. He was so pompous about it. Like, man, I'm the Green Arrow.
Crime scene.
So in this one, where it goes a little off a bit is them keep saying, oh man, like you're the Justice League. And one of the big things with Oliver is he always wanted to be, and a lot of times they passed him by. Now he's been on and off, but right now he hadn't been. But you end up where it changed the vibe a bit. I like where he was like, I'm going to be on my own. Issue. Like I'm going to pretend that I'm like, fake it till I make it kind of deal, and just go a little over the top, and they kind of
getting drunk, spouting off at the mouth.
Even the detective, like when she showed up, she's like, you're not supposed to be here at this crime scene. She's like, what? Like he was all upset thinking that it's me, Green Arrow. And they're like, yeah, you're not that great. But now they're kind of changing that, but it's okay. It's okay.
I wonder if he went back and changed the dialogue in this comic book or something, like he saw the reaction to the first one.
I don't know. I thought it
was so much better then.
Yeah. This just ended up like everything seemed to be to present us with, okay, this is what the public thinks of Green Arrow. Now this is what the police think, and this is what this tech guy does, and all this. I just had a bad thing fall down, I think. Right now, okay? No, I'm saying right now the house is being gutted, and I swear to God, at some point it's just going to end up like things are just going to fall through, and I'll end up on the first floor. I'm in the attic right now, but in the meantime, the dialogue, like I said, it seemed to be setting up the scene a little too much, and the too much of you're Green Arrow, I think this, you're Green Arrow, I think that. And by the time we then get to the story with, oh my God, the killer, the calls from within the house, then it becomes fun.
That was good.
Yeah, then
he's like running out, and the killer is about to like take him out. The dog's freaking out, and he finally gets his shot.
You were thinking though throughout all this is the dog's definitely going to have, like, this dog would know that somebody was creeping up, and finally it does. So I just
not a very good serial killer if they're sneaking up on the lady with the
with the dog and then hits her over the head with like a wrench. This thing, huge wrench.
Try to brain her.
I thought she was dead. The dog goes nuts.
The only thing that would have made it better is if he would have shot the fucking boxing glove to knock her out.
That would have been funny. I thought he was actually going to miss and hit the dog. I thought the dog was going to die somehow from one or the other, because I thought it was more of a, crazy villain. It ends up looking like somebody who might have cancer that's just dressed up.
It looks like Okoye.
Yeah.
Or actually, it kind of looks like the lady that plays Ethelba, but without the little fucking scepter.
Yeah.
Livestock ring.
Again, I think it's going to end up being that this whole freshwater killer might be like a bunch of people together trying to get revenge for things that happened to them and their family. Because it could even be like, it's a weird start. Even we didn't even say at the beginning is this girl when she was younger? It was weird because there's somebody who's like making some peanut butter and jelly or something and ends up drinking one. It was very odd at the beginning, but I think
they never revisited it, did they? I thought that was like the latest victim of the freshwater.
Yeah,
I was like, it can't be.
No, and again, I think
because they're killing like CEOs and senators.
I'm guessing that this was like
I'm guessing this has to do with cancer, like Michigan water thing or something.
Oh, it is. I think that the water is causing all the people to have cancer and things like that.
You know what the weird thing about the Michigan water thing is that town's like, their governing body are the ones that decided to go to that alternate water source that was contaminated with all that lead.
There you go.
They're the ones that did it.
Well,
and then they blamed like the state of Michigan.
Blame it all.
They were already providing
Nobody wants to say they were at fault. Why would you do that?
It can't be the government bureaucrats that decided they wanted to save money by putting people's lives in danger. It had to be the state.
When I went to college, my girlfriend's dad was the guy who did the water. He was part of the water at this middle of Pennsylvania town, and they had a lot of beavers like crapping in the water and stuff like that. So they went too far and put so much chlorine that people like their eyes were hurting when they were. So they had some problems. They had to have some people come in, and nobody lost.
Dude, a little essence of beaver never hurt anybody.
Yeah, that is true. Especially in middle Pennsylvania. What else do you have to do there? Nothing. So, yeah, it was kind of funny because I ended up there and I'm like taking a drink of water. I'm like, boy, this water is like really tastes like you're drinking a pool. And she's like, you don't understand. Like 2 months ago, it was way worse. So it's kind of crazy.
We got all these beavers, dude. They won't stop dumping in the water.
It was. They were pissing.
Why don't you destroy
the
their
water or
dams?
whatnot? Yeah, I guess they didn't want to do that. So they just tried to like chlorinate the water and they went too far.
Did you ever find a beaver dam when you were a kid, Jim?
Yeah, I found one at one point. It was a strip club. It was right down the. We had one when I lived in these apartments. I kind of found one. I thought it was one. Then I was like, nah, I don't think so, because I pictured in my mind them being a lot more fancier. And then I'm like, nope, I saw the beavers.
It's just a bunch of sticks.
Yeah, and it scared the crap out of. I'm scared of everything. I went running. Still run from the beaver to this day is what happens. It only gets you trouble.
We would tear them apart and think it was hilarious, because then the beaver would have to build the dam again.
Yeah, you're assholes. Poor beaver.
Well, we were from the country. We weren't city folk like you.
It's like, look at this. Like I spent all that time, these assholes.
You're scared of beavers and you're trying to make fun of me.
Yeah, damn right. Anything in the wild, I don't care what it is. I think I'm going to get rabies and I run. Because the minute I heard that I'm telling you, the minute I heard that there's like 8-foot needles that go in your stomach, I'm out. And to this day. So
this is the only time I encountered wildlife as a child that I was legitimately scared. By my grandma's house, there was like a dump yard where people would take like old appliances and crap like that, stuff that they wouldn't take with your trash, and they would just dump it there. But it wasn't like a professional site where you sold it and, they would try to take parts and stuff. It was just a bunch of old shit. So naturally, that was the most fun place to go hang out and play. And so we're playing in there. It's like the summer or whatever. And we pulled this big piece of sheet metal over. And all of a sudden I heard the because there was a fucking rattlesnake under that sumbitch. And I did not stop running until I was in my grandma's house.
Yeah, screw that.
But that was the only time I was like really scared.
That scared the crap out of me. Everything scares the crap.
That rattle really works.
Yeah. It scares you. Your blood gets cold then. You just run.
Natural instinct kicks in and you choose flight over fight with the rattle.
Oh, yeah. That's a good thing. That's what you should choose.
Yeah, so that was cool.
Yeah.
But I will give Green Arrow a hot, because I do think the second half of the book picked up steam and got it going in a good direction. Although I thought the characterization on Green Arrow was far less fun and interesting in this issue.
Yeah, I'll go the same.
Final book from DC I read this week: Superman, Josh Williamson, Dan Mora.
Yep. Same with me.
I liked the last issue a lot.
I did too.
With Doomsday showing up, Superman, Superwoman, you got this great thing where Superman flies around the literal planet to blindside Doomsday on a
because he's worried about Lois. Even though Lois has powers, he's going to look after her, and she's really never faced Doomsday, so that would be the deal.
That was cool. We get the Superwoman special last week, which shined a light on everything I hated about the concept of Lois Lane being Superwoman. And now we get that once again. And this is just Superman trying to have a quiet date with Lois, but stuff keeps coming up, whether they're on Earth, they got to go help somebody, whether they're on Gem World to help out Amethyst.
Amethyst shows up and you're like, really? Amethyst?
And every time they try to have a date, even if it's on the moon, it keeps getting interrupted. And I was like, boy, does this fucking suck.
Yeah. It's not great. And then you have interludes with Jimmy.
The interludes were horrible.
Yeah. And
there were interludes all over the books this week.
Yeah.
There were other one-page interludes in other books. I hate it.
And this ended up where and then at the end you get, okay, this was just, I mean, I know that some people will say, oh, well, you have these cool down issues. I don't know why. You don't need to have a cool down issue. You could have had the fleet that shows up at the end just show up, get going, maybe a timing issue that they're going with. But the idea where I want to see, an interlude with Lex and Mercy and coffee, where they might have a bit of romance going. I don't really need that.
What does Doomsday dream about?
Yeah, what does Doomsday dream about? You can barely even see. And then Jimmy
Olsen on date night where he's getting scared during the movie, but the girl is getting happy during the scary movie.
Yeah, she loves the bad stuff because, she's typically a villain. But even then, what are you doing? And I like Superman, I think has been really, really good. When I read this, I actually checked to see if it was Joshua Williamson. Now, I'm not a huge fan, but while I was reading it, I'm like, did somebody guess, is Leah Williams writing this? What happened here? And it is him. Why are we doing this? And it just feels like after the Superwoman special, you didn't need this. You already had kind of that there. And let's get to Lois showing you that she's capable, that she doesn't need to, or whatever it would be. But the idea, even where Superman, where we have this play, and he always knows that he's going to outlive everybody. But now it seems like he's just kind of discovered.
Well, he should be happy. Superwoman's there, and he's not going to outlive her.
Yeah, and I actually thought he was going to say something like that. And John, I mean, they're all going with it. And even then, remember, he ended up going Red Superman. It seemed like electric red Superman last issue, and he kind of pulled it back. They said, oh my God, he went red. And now it just ends up being this side note.
I can't talk about Doomsday.
Yeah, I'm stressed out. I might go red again. That's because of the red kryptonite. I'm I thought it was something bigger.
Farm and Graph. I didn't even remember it.
I thought it was something bigger than that. I thought it was going to be something along lines because John has had that blue power. I actually thought they were going to combine at some point, and they still might. I don't know. We haven't seen that from John in a while, but I thought it was going to be something bigger, something that we'd have to worry about. But he's just I just can't get stressed. Just can't get stressed. And then he starts, talking. Then they go to the moon. And even what Josh Williamson does sometimes, which drives me nuts, just have them go to the moon. They're going to throw shit at a wall. Play darts on the
enormous
moon. Right, yeah. So it's
the moon,
they fly.
Destroy the surface. They
fly up to the moon, right? They fly to the moon, and then Lois says, as she's talking in no sort of oxygen, "Hey, how are we going to breathe on the moon? Listen, you've been breathing how'd you get to the moon? You've been breathing in space. Stop." But he always does this so that he doesn't get called out. But it always throws me out. It's such a nitpick, but it's something where
it's stupid, unnecessary.
What are you doing? And people will argue about, hey, and it's one of those things. You don't want to have to keep, there he is with the man. You just want to have him do it. It's like the Green Lantern charge. That's kind of gone away for, the most part because the idea that you don't want to have to keep stopping
when he's done,
and whatnot. So
he goes, I need to charge my lantern.
Yeah, exactly. But the funny thing is in this whole deal, they don't want to do that, but yet they'll lights out for 2 years. They'll have the rings not work, but in this, I saw, and it was Tom Taylor at one point who said he had a mask on in space. Superman, they're like, well, I thought he some people haven't breathed in space. And all he said was, that's so we can talk because there's no oxygen. I'm like, whatever. Nobody really cares. But when she's like, how are we going to breathe on the moon? I'm like, you just flew in space. Like, what are you talking about? And you're talking, oh, Mr. Terrific whipped up a temporary oxygen stabilizer in this section of the moon. I'm like, you didn't need to do that. That's goofier than just having them talk. But I hear that you were good at the darts, getting them frat boys. And then they start going. And if anybody has read, for a while, this kind of felt a bit like that stupid thing with Bendis where Superman would just occasionally go and start punching asteroids in space because he was too upset and he wanted to calm down. I'm like, all right, like, here we are. You're there with your wife, who's Superwoman, and you're throwing rocks like darts. And that might have been the most gripping part of it. And then she talks about, now, I think I want to be a reporter again. And I see what Perry with this and that. And it's just because eventually it's just going to reset. So you see Crypto there, too. You see dinosaurs. You're on Dinosaur Island. You're visit Zatanna for a show. Nothing happens in this book.
No. There's a really good panel from Dan Mora where she's remembering Doomsday and Superman fighting, and it's very retro the way it's colored and illustrated.
Yeah, it looks cool.
And it's fucking dynamite.
Yeah, it's really good. And the people at the end seem to be the guys from the Doomsday War and even from the whole play.
The reveal at the end is the thing that's keeping this from being a knot, because it wasn't that.
Yeah, and you end up with the aftermath, and they're like, we're in our funeral gear, we're here, and you better give us Doomsday because we're going to take them. And if you try to stop us, we'll kill you. So, yeah, that's pretty crazy. There's weird place, too, in this where, like, Supergirl is, like, shading Lois at points. And then they're, I'm just joking. I'm like, I don't get this. Weird. But, it was a bit of a mess. And I've liked Superman. I thought it was been pretty good. But this one's a bit down.
Pretty fucking mid.
Yeah, it was.
Disappointment. Of course, Dan Moore still brings it. But
but a lot of it, nothing really going on. Jimmy in 3 panels getting scared. Silver Banshee's getting excited. So there you go. But it wasn't great.
Wrapping up the DC comics, Jim and I agree Metamorpho the Element Man #1, a not. Absolute Wonder Woman, definitely a not. But we also agree Detective Comics and Green Arrows are a hot. So not a bad week from DC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Not bad. Like you said, it's getting a little better. At points, we were going each week and we're like, this is the worst week. We've had some good weeks. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. So, and that's it for me. I end up where I did not read any of the indies yet. So it's all you.
Jim has had some issues, technical difficulties with his ability to access indie review copies. So he wasn't able to read any this week. But
I think on
the indie scene, it was a very, very tiny, minuscule week to begin with. Really, the only publisher that did anything was Image, except for one book from Boom. We had Dust to Dust #1, and then new issues of G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, Geiger, Hornsby and Halo, Ice Cream Man, Redcoat, Rogue Sun, Void Rivals, and Uncanny Valley. Mm-hmm. I wanted to read Dust to Dust #1 from J.G. Jones. It sounded like something I would be really interested in. Unfortunately, it took me a while since Jim didn't have access to the independent comic book review copies for me to find another source for review copies, and I wasn't able to read it. I just didn't have the time, but I was working behind the scenes, and I was not able to get to that one before the recording of the Hot or Not show. But it's something I was definitely interested in. But I definitely did read G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, 313, Larry Hama, Chris Mooneyham. This thing has been very, very good. We've had this big battle for Springfield going on where you got the agents of Destro. You've got basically, Serpentor Khan and his mutant robot guys. You've got Cobra soldiers. And then they've been infiltrated by a gang of G.I. Joe ninjas. G.I. Joe mostly staying on the outside. And it plays out really, really good. You actually get a one-on-one fisticuffs battle between Serpentor Khan and Destro. It was pretty badass. Does not go all that well for Destro. I'll put it that way. But then it doesn't go all that well for Serpentor Khan because it turns out he was able to turn the tables, not because he's a better fighter, but because he had better technology. Okay. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then Cobra is having to fall back. There's a great moment where, you've had the one dude faking like he's Cobra Commander. And Cobra Commander is like talking to him. He's like, you stay on the outside and make sure that nobody gets in here. And the dude that's faking like him in his battle armor tells everybody to get on the inside. And Destro finally shows up to fight him. He's like, let's do it one-on-one. He's like, you're not Cobra Commander. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm here to fight you. He's like, if you were Cobra Commander, you'd be on the inside. And everybody on the inside would be on the outside protecting him. And he kind of takes him out. But we do get some really cool ninja on... Well, who are they fighting? Everyone showed up at the hospital. That's right. The mutant cyborg guys show up at the hospital. Like, let's take these guys down. It'll be easier. And they ended up taking on the entire Dreadnoks and the fucking ninjas all at the same time. Really badass stuff. Action-packed, wall-to-wall. Really, really fun. I probably have not done it justice, but certainly recommend G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. It was really, really fun. We are definitely coming to the end of this Springfield War kind of thing that's been going on. But it has been worth it. Every single issue has been a gem. And Jim, you are missing out, dude.
I am. Gabe was telling us that, it's the best thing ever and that the other G.I. Joe book stinks and all that stuff. So that's why I just avoid it because Gabe said, and he's sus. So.
Don't let sus Gabe ruin your enjoyment of G.I. Joe.
I won't. I will not. I was reading it once it went over to Skybound Image deal. I was reading it. But again, it didn't restart. It continued, but I was enjoying it. And then once the other stuff, the newer stuff started, I kind of got more involved with that. But I'll try. I always say that I'll catch up. But half the time I do, I won't, but I do want to.
Breaking my heart every time you don't do it.
Well, that's
it feels personal at this point.
I'm a heartbreaker.
Like, you don't believe me.
I am. That's what I do. I break hearts all around. But
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the issues that I've read, like, I mean, even at the beginning when you basically would have, Cobra Commander, like just yelling stuff with all of his speeches and they were like the worst speeches ever. If you were the one listening to the speech, it was like just not caring about anybody but himself. But those were fun. But in the meantime, I have to catch up.
So enjoyed that one a lot. I also read Geiger this week. And Geiger has been kind of on a little bit of a lull, but I thought it came up big time this week. We had the Knight show up in that little secluded like area that missed the radiation because of wind patterns or something like that with the kids. Remember that?
Yes.
You don't remember this?
Yes, okay. I do. The dogs are barking. I don't want to ruin the deal. But yes, and it has been a bit of a lull, but the bit of the lull seemed like a planned little thing.
No, it picks up because all the Knights.
Well, that's what I was hoping. And at the end of the last issue, they showed up, and it seemed like it was going to be some big. Now, again, I haven't read it, but it seemed like, oh my God, this community that has been able to avoid everything is now going to be screwed by him, which I was really, scared of.
That definitely happens.
Yeah.
And the main dude's like, "Ha! My sword's made out of tungsten and something else." Is like, you couldn't melt this if you wanted to. Your head would melt first. And then he actually kind of like stabs him, and he's all kind of toying with Tariq. Like, I got you where I want you. He goes, so that's what your armor is. He's like, is that what all these guys' armors are? And then he like starts melting their faces. It was really, really good. And then they shoot him with like fucking boron dust, so he can't power up anymore. And then Nate the Knight, in his most heroic issue yet, realizes he's the only guy that can help save Tariq and obviously Geiger, the glowing man, whatever you want to call him. Mm-hmm. He goes in there, like sprays him down. He's like saving the day. And the next thing you know, the glowing man doesn't have his rods to kind of keep him in check. And he fucking loses it. And he like starts to kill Nate.
Really?
And then Barney finally has to come over and save him.
And Barney saves Nate. That's good. Crazy. The whole thing with that book is I like Geiger. And I did like it before, but I didn't have a connection. Nate made the connection. Nate is a great character.
He's awesome.
Really ends up making that book so much better. And it's like it's the perfect deal because when he first showed up, he was annoying as shit. And you're like, oh man, like we don't need this until you realize that's all you needed. And that's how the progression was with Tariq as well. Like he doesn't want to admit it. And that's good that Barney saves him. I can't wait to read it. That's one of my favorite books, even though it always sneaks up on me. It's like one of those where like, the highs and lows aren't like they're like some books, but it's always good to me. It just never wows me, but this one sounds like it might wow me.
It was a good one.
Yeah,
It might wow you.
Yeah. So
and then at the end, there's a bit of an epilogue, and we are getting, is it Junkyard Joe?
Yep. Yeah.
He's on the case again.
Okay. Well, he seemed to be there, and you've had a couple of like sneaks in with the president, and they have this and that. So I'm sure it all connects.
Everybody's coming after Geiger now, especially after what he's done to the Knights again.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, they're going to want
definitely hot. It was a really, really good issue. I also read Hornsby and Halo, another Ghost Machine book. Peter J. Tomasi, who I love as a writer. I didn't love the concept behind this particular book that he's doing with like their family imprint at Ghost Machine. Didn't love the first issue, and I certainly love this one less. I don't think there's anything here to where I'm not interested in the two characters, the angel that's being raised by devils, or the devil or demon that's being raised by angels. Like there's like a weird moment where like there's this earthquake, and it's showing you the difference in the families, and like the angel kid, the earthquake's happening and he's all scared and he's trying to find his parents, and he calls them up and he finds out that they're already outside and they took the cat, but they left him inside. And I was like, I get it. They're not good parents. They're fucking demons, but they haven't done anything really interesting about him, or certainly the girl. I think her name is Rose. And I think I'm, I've really liked Ghost Machine. I like Hyde Street. I'm definitely there for Geiger, Redcoat, which I'm about to talk about. Certainly Rook Exodus. And I even like the Rocket Fellows. I think there's something there. Yeah. I just don't think there's anything on Hornsby and Halo. I don't think it's like a bad comic book. It's very, very lower tier mid, though. And I don't think I'm going to invest any more time.
It's the thing, too, because even like a Hyde Street, it's not my thing. I don't really love horror comics. A lot of people like you, of course, you tell me to read Ice Cream Man. I decide to read it in the worst issue ever. But the idea of like that sort of thing, Twilight Zone-esque kind of that, it's not my thing. But I can tell it's good. Like people will like it if you're into that. And the Rocket Fellers, like you said, I have this feeling, okay, this is bumpy at the beginning. It's more of a time frame issue. We just start, then they have a Christmas. But I think it's going to get good. I think that's like what I expect from Tomasi. This book, though, the Halo and Hornsby, like I said to you, even when you hear it feels like, oh, and by the way, we want you to do 2 books. And he's like, well, I had this kind of idea. And it just doesn't feel like there's nothing that I read in that first issue. I still have to read the second, but nothing that made me think, okay, this is a rough start. I think it'll get better. It just made me feel like, meh. There was nothing to it. Of course, some people it'll be their favorite book. But in the meantime, there's a lot of others that I can like. And I think that the Rocket Fellers already has with the daughter, the dog, and it already has some charm to it that I can grasp even while I'm not loving each issue yet. So Halo and Hornsby, it seems like the dud. It does. And it's
kind
like
of the first miss to me.
Yeah, and it feels like a miss, but not in the miss of, oh my God, you hated it. It's just a miss. And it's not that interesting, but who knows? But I don't know.
I'm not going to know because I'm out.
Yeah, I would have to probably tell people to tell me if it gets better, but I just don't. Yeah. I wasn't real interested.
The final indie book I was able to read this week was Redcoat, also by Ghost Machine, with Jeff Johns and Brian Hitch on this one. And the first trade was Simon Pure and a very young Albert Einstein. Pretty fun stuff. The last issue was Albert Einstein dying and Simon Pure being by his bed, and I thought that was pretty good. This has got nothing to do with any of that stuff. It was actually a pretty cool one-shot. It's about this weird family of like serial killers in Kansas.
Okay.
I'm aware of the story. I can't remember their names at this point, or I can't remember it anymore.
Cannibals, those guys there?
I don't know if they were cannibals.
No. Okay. I know that there was some crazy family of cannibals.
The Bender family.
Okay.
The Bloody Benders. There we go. Is I guess what they were called. In history, they discovered who they were and they escaped, and nobody knows what happened to them.
Okay.
In this one, you kind of see what they do and the way that they're able to bring this guy in and lull him into this false sense of security, and then they kind of murder him as a family. Simon Pure is the next guy to show up, and they kill him. And it's pretty funny. It's not funny because he comes to life and he realizes all these people are dead, and he sees like this little girl's body. She's holding a doll. But when he comes out of there and he goes ape on all of them, he's like, he just starts wiping them all out. It was actually pretty good. Like as a one shot, I thought it was pretty interesting. And it does bring a little bit of awareness on a weird, like, family of serial killers from, like, I think it's the early 1900s or late 1800s. But I thought it was actually pretty cool stuff. And then it basically sets up what's going to happen next, mostly with, like, Johnny Appleseed.
Okay. And he's been mentioned, and they even used some of his seeds to get out of a predicament in the first trade. So that'll be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Redcoat actually ended up being a lot of fun. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Redcoat was my favorite. When the three books started, Geiger obviously restarting. Redcoat was my favorite because I thought that was the most interesting one, even more than Rook Exodus at first. It was like 2 issues. Then Rook Exodus overtook it. But at first, I really, really liked that idea of like alt history and having Simon and really thought that it was cool. It did kind of get a little bit, not wonky, but it kind of, that first arc, it kind of stretched a bit. And then some of the reveals and stuff weren't as big as I think they were supposed to be. But in the meantime, I still really do like it. I still have fun. I think it's the most fun of them at points. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I will be reading that.
Dirty fun this week, but it's still pretty darn good. Definitely recommend that when it goes on the hot list. And that is my indie comic experience. Unfortunately, Jim wasn't able to read any.
No.
And I wasn't able to read all the other books that I wanted to this week, but it was a weird week. It was hard to get our hands on the review copies. So G.I. Joe Real American Hero, hot. Geiger, hot. Redcoat, hot. Indifferent on Halo and Hornsby. And I'm, the jury's out on Dust to Dust, Uncanny Valley, and Void Rivals. And Ice Cream Man, the other books that I would have read if I would have ended up having time. But we were having technical difficulties. And that will do it for the Hot or Not comic book review portion of the podcast. I guess we could go over the Dad Corner.
Yeah. Again, I get the review copies and I get Image, but somehow it didn't show up. And it comes like last Friday. It should have come. Never showed up, but I'm not getting any email. My one email. So we were talking about that beforehand. So it shouldn't be a problem going forward. I'll figure it out. Everybody dropped me and everybody hates me, which could be.
I don't believe that's happening, Jim.
It's the holidays. It seemed like a lot of people were avoiding me, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm
this
sure,
guy.
Yeah, that's true.
I wasn't avoiding you.
And I'll just check. And you said it's probably something happened with my security of my emails. I'll figure it out.
So on to the Dad Corner. Talk about what it's like to be a dad. My kids obviously are little. Between the ages of 3 and 9, I have a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 9-year-old boy. Jim's kids, much, much older. I think in between the ages of 18 and 30. And there's 5 of them.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. There's 5 of them.
You are in a different stage of fatherhood than I am.
Yeah. Yes.
And obviously, it was Christmas week. Christmas was a big holiday for the kids. And, we had a nice time. The kids got up early. We all get matching PJs because that's our family tradition. I always get pajamas. And if you think about getting matching PJs for Christmas, I will put this out. Do not go on Amazon. You will not get the best deals. You need to go to Etsy. ETSY. You got to find an Etsy shop that does those PJs, and you can get them at like half the price for almost the exact same designs and stuff. It's insane how much more expensive that stuff is on Amazon. You can find the better deals there, even if you're overseas, like in the Philippines here, with the shipping and everything. So we're all set up for that stuff. And, I got all the toys. You got like the big thing. And it's always like the little stuff that like my kids like.
Yeah.
Stuff I didn't think about. Like my 5-year-old has been walking around for 2 days straight. He's sleeping with it with a fucking yo-yo. He refuses to take it out of the box because he's got like this weird collector's mentality for this stuff. He doesn't like to take anything out of the box until like he's had it for a couple weeks. So his favorite thing in the world is this yo-yo in the box that he's actually sleeping with this time. Like it's a whoopee.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I wish I had, I was thinking like, did any of them know? No. Yeah, that's weird. You got weird kids.
And then I got each of the boys, I got them this Treasure X thing, which I thought was kind of, I didn't know what it was, but I was like, it's like a little adventure set type thing. And You could open it up. It's got like a little castle inside it. It said it had like little puzzles and stuff that you had to figure out, and you'd find treasure. And I noticed one of them had slime in it, and my 5-year-old loves slime more than anything. So I got on these things, and it turns out my wife says it's the bee's knees. They all love them so much. I had no idea. And then to make it worse, she's like, it's like a doll castle. I was like, no, it's an action playset, honey. Like, stop. These are boys. Yeah. You didn't get them a doll castle.
It's not a doll castle.
But it's like a little bitty compact version of like Skeletor's castle is what it is.
Castle Grayskull.
When you open it up, it's got like this little fucking drawbridge thing that you can put up there, and you can bounce the little guy around. And there's like these little mazes and stuff he has to go through.
Ain't no doll hanging out in that.
No, this is a manly Barbie thing. Central. You got boys.
Barbie, she's gonna have to be saved from that castle. And then it's like another castle.
She tried to explain it as a dollhouse. I was so disappointed.
You're like, you better stop.
Like, I wouldn't do that. This is an action figure playset, honey.
Oh, funny. Yes,
but they love that shit.
Castle is what it is.
It's ended up being a big hit. I didn't even know what I was buying when I got it. To be honest.
Nice. Yes. Yeah.
So sometimes you win on these things.
Yep. Yeah. I haven't even my kids have not gotten any of their presents yet, except my son who got money for his dog at the vet. That's it.
So you got them presents, but you haven't seen them.
No, we were going to get them this week to give it to them because none of them, like Rafe and Logan, are here, but Alex is at his place. Zach, he's back and forth, but Ethan lives in New Jersey. So we were going to actually have Christmas next week, but that seems to not be a thing now. So I don't even know what they're getting. I have no idea. Though Rafe is already.
Dude, you should get him like a $1 off coupon from McDonald's.
Yeah. Old Arby's. But yeah, Rafe has already gotten to it. The other day, he was all upset because he was trying to get money for gas. Now, he did claim that Dad drove the car all over the place last night. I legitimately went like half a mile. And when I got in, I took a picture that there was only like 9 miles left of gas. I hadn't used the car in a week. And so I went, and so he was all upset. Asked his mom for the money. She sent $20, didn't tell me. I sent him 15, mainly because I only give him a little and then I will fill it up because I know he'll never use it. So he got $35 for gas. We just have a Kia. When I got in right after he supposedly filled up, it was up like 2 notches from empty. Like, yeah, that would have filled the tank, and he didn't use it. So I was pissed. So that's his Christmas present.
Put $2 gas in here.
Yeah. He probably put $5, I would guess. But again, when he asks for money for gas, I'll usually only send him $10, and then because he'll only use 6, and then I will fill it up when he gets home. But and I was out. I went to get something to eat, and I was going to get gas, but the lines were awful. So that was like Christmas Eve day. So I ended up doing that. Dude. But yeah, and then he lied. He's like, Dad was all like the idea that I'm all over the place. I go nowhere. I drive to either like Walmart or Aldi. That's it. And they're both within a mile. Like you liar.
So speaking of driving.
Yeah.
We have a family car. My wife and I share. Mm-hmm. We are not rich people. There ain't a lot of parking space here in the Philippines. So we got the one car. And for the most part, I've been driving it since we've had it because my wife only knew how to drive a motorcycle, but I sent her for driving lessons. She got her driver's license, and now she drives the car. But typically, when we go as a family, I drive the car.
Yeah, because you don't want to die.
And she sits in the back with the 2 youngest, and then the oldest sits up front with me, and she tries to keep them calm and all that stuff. But something had come up, and we were leaving the 3-year-old here with a babysitter, and we didn't want something to happen. Like the 2 older boys were at like a Christmas party, so she like swings by, and I have to like jump off the porch to get in the car before the kid realizes that I'm leaving because we're going to go to dinner as a family with a couple of family friends. So I'm riding in the car. I'm not driving this time. And there's a lot of people here. It's been raining very hard. It's like the rainy season here in the Philippines. So there's more traffic than normal. And my goodness, my wife cannot drive. I was hitting my invisible brake the entire time. We're driving, and there's like literally a white SUV 30 feet in front of us that's parked on the side of the road. They turn their car on. The little brake lights come on. They start pulling out. My wife makes no attempt to slow down to let him in, to avoid the car or anything. She never actually saw it until I was screaming, "You're going to get hit. You're going to get hit."
Yes.
And I was trying to get her out of the way. She's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "The white SUV that was pulling into our lane?"
Yeah,
She's like, I didn't even see that. Are you sure? I was like, "Yes, I'm sure." I was like I was hit by invisible brake. Didn't you see me? Because I'm trying not to give her any crap about it. You know, I don't want to be a backseat driver or anything, but I also don't want to die. And then we went into like this intersection. She almost hit somebody, and she's like, "Maybe I should start paying attention." I was like, "You think?" My goodness, it's I don't know. It's scarier than being in Afghanistan getting it shot at every day. I'll tell you that.
I always grab the oh shit handle anytime my wife would drive, and she gets so mad at me, like immediately. And also one of those where at one point, we legitimately had like 3 cars hit outside our house. So we ended up getting there, and we only had 1 car at one point. And she would drive me to work and pick me up at the end of the day. And I worked with Eric. And so she'd pick us both up, and I'm sitting there looking, and Eric is in the back seat, and he's doing like the phantom press on the brake, deal, because he would
completely white.
Oh my God.
No color in the skin anymore. And he's seen death.
So he went, So at one point she comes to me, "Oh, where's Eric?" I'm like, he walked home. And legitimately like 6 miles. Like it was like, I'm not driving anymore. The only real thing that you had to go through was this 4-way stop, and she would not even slow down, not even look, just right through. People almost hit us every time. Then they'd honk, and she's giving them the finger. I'm like, oh my goodness gracious,
you fucking assholes.
Yeah. She's like, and the thing is, she never did really take her driver's lesson, or driver's test. Her uncle was the guy who did the test, and he just let her pass. So he is to blame, because she does not know how to drive very well. Doesn't know any of the law, the rules of the road, nothing. Awful. And just like you're going to die every time you drive.
So this would be my last story about the dad corner. I got the 3 boys. For the most part, they're all mama's boys. They prefer the company of their mom. She's awesome. They certainly like me, but it appears, this is the way I'm feeling it, is that the 3-year-old is becoming steadily more attached to his dad. Okay. Which is great. I love spending time with him. He hits me in the balls too much, but I can take the bad with the good. And so if I want to walk out of a room that he's in and I'm in, he's going to follow me. And so this evening, my oldest son, the 9-year-old, had left something downstairs, and he needed to go get it, but he needed my help getting it. So I walk out of the room, we go downstairs, and then I look over my shoulder, and I realize the 3-year-old's also coming down the stairs, because he's coming with me because he wants to hang out with me. So we go downstairs. I do the thing that I need to do for the oldest one. We start going back upstairs. And if you go up the stairs to the 2nd floor, there's a bathroom right there. You kind of take a U-turn, and then there's a bedroom door, and then there's another bedroom door, because we have 2 bedrooms up on the 2nd floor. That's the bedrooms that we have. So me being the big prankster that I am, and I'm absolutely hilarious, I shut the lights off as he trying to take a pee, the 9-year-old, knowing that he's deathly afraid of the dark. So I slam the lights off. I close the door shut. I won't let him open it. And I can hear him screaming at the top of his lungs, like bloody murder, kind of like a girl. And it's hilarious. And I'm laughing, and the 3-year-old's laughing even harder. And I've realized I've set a bad example of him. Yeah. And now, for the rest of the night, he's trying to trap his older brother in dark places so he can hear him scream again. And he loves the blood-curdling sound of his brother screaming. Yeah. And he wants to play that prank the best. He wants it to happen so much. Like, he was so excited about that we got one.
Yeah, I used to do that to my brother. I was more of the jump out from behind something. Hey, and then he didn't like the dark, so I'd shove him in a container and try to ship it to China. Shit like that. Now,
throw him in the dryer and shut the door, and then
and play. Just start running, a cycle. You go outside, come back. Now, I ended up where I was pretty mean to my brother. I was, but not that mean. But my dad, what he loved to do was pretend he was dead. That was what he did. So I'd come home, and my dad was a big guy. So I always was worried he was going to have a heart attack.
Heart attack was on the menu.
Yeah, always on the menu. So he would, but my dad wouldn't normally do much at all with me. He never really talked to me, and he'd get mad at me a lot. But I remember the one time, and I even told the story recently where the first time I learned how to ride a bicycle, he ended up one of the things he did, and he's pushing me, and I went and jumped a curb and got hit by a car. And then he was screaming at me while I was laying on the ground under a car. But 2 or 3 times over my childhood, I came on one time. He went as far as where he got a glass of milk, and he was in the kitchen and fell down, and the milk, it looked like the perfect. But the thing is, I know milk's too healthy for him, so I knew that was bullshit. But even so, I kind of got upset. But the one time we moved to Quakertown, where we live now, and I went up and I'm like, Dad, I forget what I needed or something. And when I went into the bedroom, he was in bed and he was just staring up at the ceiling. That's when I freaked out. And basically what he told me was that was his test to see if I loved him. You fucking asshole. But in my house, at one point, legitimately, I fall down the stairs all the time. I fell down the stairs and I almost got knocked out. And I was barely able, and my kids ran downstairs and started taking pictures of me and laughing. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Twitter,
they even heard. This wasn't they walked in and I had a glass of milk or something like that. This was, they heard boom, 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 boom. And they're like, what the fuck is that? And they go, and I'm laying in a heap at the bottom of the stairs. And they're like, you got to see this. And then for 2 weeks, our son Alex, who had already moved out, he's like, man, I saw those pictures. You probably shit your pants. I'm like, no, but I'm going to beat all you up right now. We're going to fight.
If I was going to play dead, I would take an Alka-Seltzer. Remember those things?
Yeah. And have
not
it out
the whole thing.
Yeah.
That'd be too much. But just a sliver of that thing, that way you'd be frothing at the mouth or something.
Yeah. That'd be good. You had a seizure or something. Mm-hmm. I should set it up that it looks like their mother killed me. Then it'd be believable. They'd be like, she finally did it. I told them, for years, I would say to them, listen, kids, if I die anytime before, you think, oh man, he wasn't that bad. Investigate, please. I will leave clues too. I will leave clues in my last breath. Some way I'll tell you. So
I have a digital recording that I've set up. A couple of people have had it. I've told them if I passed away under the age of 60, I want you to play this.
That's what basically I said under 65.
That my wife has been watching videos on how to murder people perfectly for years now, and she's finally committed the perfect crime.
She's committed. I did
not believe those alligator tears.
I forget who it was.
I'm not supposed to be dead.
That was the other thing. My wife does the true crime, and all she's yelling is they're not even real tears. Always yelling at that stuff. But I did see somebody, I forget who it was. It might have been Jim Gaffigan or some comedian. It's these women, they listen to these true. They're listening to the ones that failed. At the end, they always they're not getting the real information.
No, they're finding out what not to do.
Yeah, well, that might be it.
Perfect crime.
Oh, at one point, my wife
why didn't cyanide work in this case?
Exactly.
They were too exuberant.
She told Rafe at one point, I could kill your father right now and you would never know. And he's like, oh, that was he's 12. He's like, really? Oh, that's great.
It's not weird at all.
Yeah. So I legit, you got that. I do have a text file, but that's just more of, this is all the information that you're going to need to get in the, certain accounts and things.
No, mine's all about, do not let this woman get away with this miscarriage of justice.
I really want to. That's why, again, I want to be a millionaire. I need something where my heart stops. It sends shit out like they always do in comics and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That'd be awesome. It just sends it out.
Dead man switch.
Screw all of you. I hated you every bit of the way. Sayonara, suckers. That's what I do. But yeah, actually, my son Zach, usually he'll come. Now he's here a lot more because he's fixing up the house. But usually he would come by and he's like, "You're still alive?" I'm like, "Yep, still alive. Actually, and two, with the idea of me, almost dying and all that stuff. He's tearing down some stuff, and Logan is helping him. And Logan the other day, again, almost hit a live wire and almost electrocuted himself. I'm like, what are you doing? He went to just touch it for no reason. But there's a lot of shit like that going on right now. The whole house is gutted. There's a layer of plaster because he's tearing down plaster walls. And I feel like somebody's come through with baby powder every 2 seconds. I have that feeling. Oh, yeah, it's driving me nuts. That's it. That's my stories. I did nothing for Christmas. I'll do nothing for New Year's. I'll do nothing next year. Happy holidays, everybody.
Absolutely. I had a great Christmas. Hopefully we'll turn it around next year for you, Jim, but I do appreciate your time. If you had fun with this is exclusive to Think Critical Patreon. Obviously, we're sharing it here on the YouTubes. We do it every single week. And Jim doesn't even celebrate holidays, so we don't miss a show.
Nope, we do not. Nope, not at all.
And there's a link to the Think Critical Patreon. This is on the Doc is Right tier. Lots of fun going on there, and we'll see you around.
See ya.